Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Welcome to our makeshift COVID secure, or as secure as we can possibly make it, studio. Apologies if the sound and obviously the set is a little bit different to what you're used to, but it means we can still bring you the podcast. And today's guest, none other, Tommy Forman. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm living the dream. It's warm. We've got some heat in.
It's a bit too warm, if anything. And it's about to get even warmer with some of these stories, mate.
I can't wait, mate. You're coming in off the back of what I think is probably the funniest podcast that I've listened to, which was Series 1, you, Dan and Alf talking about various things. But what comes to mind the most is your koi pew story, mate, which I'm guessing a lot of people have got back to you about and asked more questions about.
It's all they've asked me about, to be honest with you. No one was interested in my fishing, all the cool stories I told. All anyone wanted to know was how many koi pew I killed and how many cigarettes I swapped for tench.
So
it went down well. Honestly, it is, on a serious note, the best feedback I've had from anything in my time at Nash has been my first podcast.
No pressure on this one then, mate.
No pressure, mate. It's been a while. That was 2.5 years ago, I believe I'd done that.
Was it?
Right.
I
was one of the first ones, so I think it was, I don't know, it would have been Kevin, Alan, and then I think they got me in. Bit like this, like run out of get all the good guys out of the way and then drag me into it. And who's going to do, Tom, you're not doing nothing. Look.
And look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Mate, we're going to talk about your fishing.
Yeah.
Okay, because there was a lot of stories, but we're going to try and sort of whistle stop through with stories and humour and everything else, but we're going to look more into your fishing.
Yeah.
I think the best place to start, purely because I'm still laughing about koi pew stories at Cavagnac, is Cavagnac, mate. So talk us through some of your most fond fishing highlights of your time there.
I've got so many, but there is a couple. Like when you said put a list together of things you want to talk about, I thought, the last podcast ended on Cavagnac, but I never really talked about the fishing side of things. It was all just everything associated. And I got a few of the guys that I met out at Cavagnac. I met a lot of anglers when I was out at Cavagnac. You imagine, like, week in, week out, 20 anglers a week. A lot of them I still speak to, and they all message, because the lake's still up and running, albeit not with Nash. But David, who worked with me, the French bailiff, he now runs it himself.
Oh, does he? I didn't know that.
So it's still going. It's Le Chateau Cavagnac. So he's still got a lot of the regular customers that go out there. So a lot of them are messaging me on Instagram and whatnot, saying, you should have talked about some of the captures. We want to know about the fishing. And I know it's all over talk about this Cavagnac, it seems, in all these podcasts and everything. But
this is only your second.
No. But, we've done the live. I talked about Cavagnac, and then I do these other videos for Instagram and whatnot. But there's a couple of good stories that are worth telling.
I definitely think so. But a bit of background for those people who haven't yet seen it. You're at Cavagnac because you're bailiffing, aren't you?
So, yes, that was where my Nash journey began, if you like. Fresh out of college, didn't really know what I was going to do. Sorry, when I was fresh out of school, didn't really know what I was going to do. Ended up going to Shuttleworth College in Bedfordshire, doing a national diploma in fishery management. During that time, I got in the link with Nash, done my work experience out at Cavagnac, done really well, impressed, got offered a job at the end of my 2 years college. Ended up staying at Cavagnac as a bailiff, or moving out there when I was 18 years old, quite a big decision.
Yeah.
We talked about this on the Instagram live I've done. It was quite a big decision for me to make at 18 years old. But I'd done it. I went and lived there for 3 years, and I bailiffed at a French fishery, and I loved it. It was incredible. I loved every second.
What do you reckon you'd have done if you wouldn't have bailiffed out there? There was no plan, you said, but...
No. There was a plan, but I would have left college. But we had already been out on a work party as a class to Cavagnac, and that's when I first fell in love with it. The whole outside, not just bailiffing, fishery management side of things, swim buildings, lake maintenance, pulling weed, netting lakes, angling, like not teaching. I was young, but I was actually the anglers that the customers that turned up. I was helping them catch fish. That was my job. We didn't want them to blank. Basically, we wanted them coming back. So large part of the job was catching fish for the customers. They were on holiday at the end of the day.
You're helping them as much as you can, aren't you?
Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit, but if I hadn't have done that, gone to Cavagnac, I don't know really. There was a few other opportunities that I could have gone down, like whilst at college, but I chose the right one. I'm thankful that I did. I made the effort to do that, and it just so happened when I come back from my 7 weeks work experience at Cavagnac, which I'd done in my second year of college, the bailiff at the time was leaving. I come back, got my diploma. They offered me a job and said, "Do you want to come back out for the summer?" Of course I do. Ended up staying there for 3.5 seasons.
Mad.
Bailiffing, living there.
Living the dream.
Yeah, I was 18, 19 years old. I was very much living the dream. I was in my element.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a weird one. In terms of the actual, my own fishing there, you got to remember, I went from, during my college time, 16, 17, I was just sort of doing a bit of day ticket carping around Milton Keynes, Bedfordshire, Club Waters. Not really night. I've done a bit of night fish. I was quite late on the carp scene. I fished for everything all growing up. Milton Keynes, on the rivers, the canals, match fishing, fished for like MK Juniors in the matches. So I was quite late on the carp scene. So by the time I was 16 and 17, 18 at college, or just leaving college, I was all right at carp fishing.
Yeah, but you've done a lot of other angling before.
Yeah, and but I was by no means an accomplished carp angler.
Yeah.
I think my PB would have been £24 or something from a day ticket. Mainly float fishing, like Manor Farm in Biggleswade. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
That was 2 minutes from college. There was a few other day tickets. We used to go there after college of an evening. That was the extent of my carp fishing, really. And all of a sudden, to be thrown into this, you're going to France, it's 50 acres, you can't cast, you have to put a rod out in a boat and use big leads and rigs, and the fish would go to £60. And I was like, fuck it, hell.
Here we go.
Phone's just dropped out of my pocket. Yeah.
In at the deep end, though, mate. Literally.
Excuse the pun.
But brilliant, though.
It was, yeah. I learned a lot.
In terms of going over there, for you, how was that initial sort of adjustment to being 18, being out meeting a load of anglers who were on a bit of a holiday social, mate? I can imagine there's some colourful...
very much so. And the thing is, there was a lot of Essex-based anglers, because Nash, the following of Nash, but there was also a lot of Northerners. You get a lot of Manchester, Liverpool, and I was 18 and all these guys were coming over, and I was like, oh, this is daunting a little bit. But it made me grow up. I grew up very quickly out there, spending a lot of time with a lot of people older than me. 99% of them were older than me. So I had to grow up, and I did that. But the daunting thing was, for the first year anyway, after the first sort of year when I homed in and knew what I was doing, I was a bit of a pro, and the customers started to appreciate that. But that first 12, 18 months, they were like, who's this little kid trying to tell me where to put my rods and that, piss off.
Did you ever have to call anyone on somebody, because obviously people want to catch, if they're on holiday, they've spent a bit of money.
Yeah, a lot of money, really.
Yeah, exactly. They want to catch. They're guessing there's a few strokes being pulled. You've had to ever sort of go over to somebody and say, well, hold on a minute, mate, that's a bit bang out of order.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of there were two types of anglers that you'd get there. There'd be a group of lads that were coming over for a holiday, beers, really just having a lovely time, a well-deserved breakaway from the missus, maybe. Lads away on tour, fishing, a few beers, barbecues, and if they caught a few fish, brilliant. They were happy. There was then there was the serious mob, the serious anglers that would come into. They've paid their money, they automatically presume that with that money that they pay, I've paid £500. I definitely need that trophy shot of a 50, 60 pounder. That's what I've paid for. Of course I've got to catch one. And they'll do absolutely minimal effort to do it. And that is where my job come in.
So basically, you need to make this happen.
I needed to make this happen. And some, like I say, some done it themselves. You left them to it. Good anglers, boats, knew what they were doing, returning customers. Others just wanted to do the absolute nothing, minimal to. They just wanted to hold the fish up at the end. And that was where my job come in. My job was to catch them the carp. And I spent almost every evening, daytimes as well, but we had other jobs to do. It weren't just catching them the fish was sort of like the end of the day job.
Yeah.
I had a lot to do previous. I've spoke about it. catch koi being one of many jobs, but we had to look after the lake as well. And so then come 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, all the anglers have had their dinner, and I dread it every evening. They'd all row over, come for their dinner, whatever it was, barbecue or meal in the lodge. And you could see them eyeing me up already, just after their dessert, you could tell. And I was just you could see, look around. And it wouldn't be long before one was like, Tom, what are you doing this evening, mate? You know I'm not doing anything. I live in a caravan out the back, mate. What do you think I'm doing? Going out of the town? Do you think it's a bit windy out there? Do you think you could come out with your engine and help put rods out? Yes, of course I can. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being negative. I loved it. It was really cool. And a lot of the time I'll get something out of it. I'm not stupid. I'll get something out of it.
What do you mean?
Couple of beers.
Right.
A tip at the end of the week. That was the aim. I didn't get paid a lot of money. I was 18 years old. I was a bailiff. Of course, but a lot of my money was gained by tips. So I wasn't stupid. I knew that if I caught these anglers fish, looked after them, bought them more beers across it when they run out, and put rods out for them and catch them a few fish, then
you'd be rewarded, mate.
Yeah. What I should be saying is, I just wanted them to have a good experience and come back. I didn't. I wanted a tip, mate.
You've left now, mate. You're not a bailiff there. It's completely...
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I've decided to talk about a couple of these catch stories, because...
The Cavagnac Chronicles, mate. It's time. The
Cavagnac Chronicles. I'll give you a few examples. So as you can imagine, the lake was busy a lot of the time, and I would never fish. I was really keen at first. Like, am I allowed to fish tonight, mate? Stick a couple of rods out. There's a free swim over there. And a lot of the time, he'd be like, it's not really fair, Tom. There's anglers here. You'd just be interfering with him. Okay, no problem. And after putting sometimes 25 rods out of an evening, when it was windy, I'd literally work my way from swim to swim. David would do it as well, the other way. I think my record was I'd put 38 rods out one evening.
That's mad.
Because it's a spiraling effect. Once someone sees you doing it, well, why are you doing it for him and not me? All right.
Yeah, I get it.
So I'd put all these rods out. It would take me till just beyond dark. The last thing I wanted to do was put my own rods out and catch these fish for myself. I'd just go in the lodge, chill, a few beers, bed, start again. Anyway, however, there was a few times when I wanted to get my fix. The quieter weeks, I would do so. But so at first I was just catching the 20s and 30s, anything. Then I got a bit not bored of that, but I wanted to up my game a little bit. And I started getting to know the bigger fish that resided in the lake. I was there all the time, when they were caught, what areas of the lake, at what time of year. I almost had it in my head. I could almost predict it. We used to have a competition, me and David, the bailiff, of what do you think's coming out this week then? And I'll be like,
yeah,
the big common's coming out Thursday from the board swing. We put a little wager on it. It's quite funny. And if you had put that rod out for the customer and it had happened, you were like, woo, you've won.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a few times when I thought, slowly ticked off these fish all through the years. The 3 years I was there catching these big uns. And big uns at this time was 50s, 60s. I think the biggest fish in the lake was 60 something pounds.
Right. How many big uns are we talking?
I don't know. There was...
Was it pretty prolific in terms of fish of that size?
There was a lot of 40s, quite a few 50s. Remember, bear in mind, this is 12 years ago, so a 60 pounder was massive then. Still massive now, obviously, but they're bigger now. So at the time, 50s, 60s. If you had a 50, happy days. You've had a good week. 60, happy days. So there's a few of these fish, and I managed to tick them off slowly over the years. But there was one of them, I'll give you an example, one of them single scale. He was like the most famous resident in the lake. Big old dark mirror, golden belly, single scale on his side. Funny enough.
Original name.
Original name. Classic name. And he was big, he was probably a twice a year fish. May, September. Yeah, May and September. Twice a year fish. It had done 60 pound in the past, and it had avoided me. I'd probably photographed it 10, 20 times, not 10, 20 times, 10 times over the course. Every time it was on a bank, I'd be there. I was just like, I need to catch this one before I leave. Anyway, it was September one year, and it hadn't come out in May. And everyone was like, all the regulars and David, it's dead, it must be dead. Like, of course, it's just been, it's probably been lost. There was a lot of lily pads, a lot of fish got lost. People weren't used to boat fishing.
Right, okay. Got
to September, and I couldn't get it off my head. I couldn't get it out of the back of my head. Every week I was like, single scale must be coming out. It's due. And it got to September. It was quite a busy week, if I remember rightly. And we had these European anglers that would visit us, quite well-known European anglers. Won't mention them. But they would come and visit us twice a year. And they had this lake on lockdown. They were good anglers. And they caught all the big ones. And the only one that they're coming back for was single scale. And I remember one night, basically there was 2 swims outside the front of the lodge. Everyone used to go bailiff swims. They weren't bailiff swims. I could count on one hand the amount of times I personally fished from these swims. They were just there if a dad and lad would come, weren't very experienced in the boat, or an older guy or lady that needed a bit of assistance, or disabled angler or whatever. These swims would be there for them. Right next to the lodge, could get to the food, showers easy, and we were there to help them should they get a fish or whatever. But they were very rarely fished. We never fished them because it weren't worth the ag of, bailiff swims, However, this one time, we had a barbecue night once a week, and it was like a Wednesday night or whatever, and it was barbecue night. Everyone would reel in. That was a rule. Everyone would reel in, come around, have a lovely time. And these 2 European anglers, probably been on the piss all day, were coming round, and I remember them just going, to all the English guys, like, almost looking down on them a bit, going, we've caught them all from here. All we're after now is single scale, And I was like, and they were adamant it was dead. Like, they were going, but it's dead. Like, and I can remember thinking, it's not, like, whatever. Anyway, we had the barbecue. I remember sitting there outside the front of the lodge and looked out to, like, the main body of water. I remember looking out just after the barbecue, all sitting there having a beer. See a fish just poke his head out. They were all sitting towards me, these Dutch anglers. Yeah. And I was looking out to I see this fish poke his head out, and David was there as well. And I was like, that was it. That was single scale. I see it, clear as day, big scale on the side. Looked at David, and he just sort of like raised his eyebrows to him. He knew. And anyway, they all went back to the swim, and they were all going, we're going to catch single tonight. This is the night. They hadn't seen this fish. And David was like, you're going to fish tonight, and I was like, fucking right, I am.
Too right I am, yeah.
So, David, I'm going to fish from the lodge. Like, I deserve it. It was nearly the end of the season. I haven't really fished much this year. I need to catch this fish. He was like, you crack on, mate. So I've done it. But my trick that I learned, like absolutely mastered over the years, was I'd put rods out in the dark. Chippy Dave, the owner.
Yeah, good old Chippy Dave.
He used to call me Tommy Two Guns because I used to sneak off with 2 rods. Like, just take 2 rods in a boat and just creep off, and that'd be me for the night. Gone. Anyway, this night I would wait until it got dark. I'd become a master at this, so the anglers didn't see me that I was fishing. Wait till it got dark. Creep out in the boat. I was a master at doing everything without a head torch.
Really? So no head torch at all?
No head torch at all. A lot of the time, and this particular night especially, because it was deep in the valley, there was no light pollution. So it was dark a lot of the time, but it got to a certain point where the moon would come up and you could sort of see what you're doing. Don't get me wrong, you wouldn't see me out in a boat at 100 yards, but I could function, and I'd become a master of it. My bucket in the boat was in a particular place. My rig was there. Everything was ready, baited. Everything was good to go. So I would get out to my spot, sneak in. I'd throw boilies out one at a time to not make a noise, come back. It's deafening silence down in the valley. So if there was no wind, you could hear everything. And if I made one like knock of a boat, or the oar or the engine, it would just, or drop a ledge, on them metal boats, ding,
yeah, crap,
game over. I'd be sussed by the anglers.
Stealth ninja mode.
Anyway, I waited till like 9 p.m, 10 p.m, marked where this fish had jumped out, went out there, come back, dropped the rods, went to sleep. And I remember I woke up at like 3 a.m, and it was dead silent, I think it was like a full moon, stars out, everything. Just as I woke up to go to the toilet, I heard it again. Echoed everywhere. I was like, and it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't fail here. He's been out there all evening waiting. And it was no one else's water. These lodge swims were pretty crap 99% of the year because there's such the boat traffic coming in and out of them. They weren't good swims.
No.
But that fish was clearly there, 100 yards out or whatever it was. Anyway, I got a bite at 6 a.m. It was single scale. It was 59.12. It was down in weight for whatever reason. But I caught it and I was buzzing. Absolutely buzzing, obviously. Anyway.
What do you do with that and the punters, mate? Surely you have to be a bit...
This is where it gets good. So I sacked it up off the front of the lodge. The anglers come around at breakfast, these Dutch anglers, and I was like, all right, morning, how you getting on? Like, what do you want for breakfast? English, continental? And they were like, we've had a bad night. That's not a Dutch accent.
That's quality. Keep going.
I won't do that. We've had a bad night fishing. Like, we've lost it. We've lost the big one, single scale. I was like, oh no, that's bad. Like thinking, really? Yeah, 100% it was the fish. We've lost it. Oh, we go home now. We've lost it. The dream is over. Da, da, da. And I was going, there was me going, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to put on it like, oh no, maybe next year, all the time I had it sacked up in front of the lodge. Yeah, so they all went back to the swim. I got it out, photographed it, got a photo, I'll show you. Quality's not great, but...
What a fish, mate. Scrap?
Not really, no. I landed it from the bank, so...
Just a plodder?
Just a plodder. And that was an example. That was one of many stories that I was a bit sneaky sometimes, so I can say this now, but not really, not all the time. Like I say, a lot of my fishing would be just evening, stalking around the bays in the pads and that. But when I knew it was game on, I fished.
To be fair, that's your water, mate, isn't it? And you ain't fished it a lot, so I think you're just...
Don't get me wrong, the rules were, I had the right to fish every night as a bailiff. As all these lakes, it says it in the rules, bailiffs have, when you sign to come out here, the bailiffs have the right to fish every night. So, but I didn't. I fished probably a couple of nights a week at times. Sometimes I go 2 weeks without fishing, but when it was on, I knew.
Yeah.
It was on, and I done it. But,
any others, mate? Memorable sort of stories, hiding A-listers from the punters?
Loads, mate, loads. I won't go into this, it's not a very good story, but I braced the big mirror and the biggest common in the lake in the same night once. There was only one angler booked on. Crazy.
One angler?
One angler a week. I don't know what happened, whether a group had cancelled or whatnot. So I fished, and David the bailiff made a silly mistake. We had our own little spots, me and David, and we'd go, I found a great spot in the tree swim, mate. Where is it? I'm not telling you. I'm keeping it for my customers. Anyway, he told me about this little hole he had found. It's a pretty boring lake, Cavagnac. It had lily pad. The features were visible. Lily pads, snags.
So it weren't crazy up and downs and bars.
It was just silt. It was like a massive estate type lake. It was just silt, fairly shallow. Anyway, David had found this hole, and he told me about it. And then he went away because there was only one customer, and he was like, "I'm going away for the week with my girlfriend." No problem, mate. You crack on. It was just me and the chef there. Anyway, I fished it, baited it, fished it the next night, caught a big mirror off gold at like £59 or something. The next night, baited it again, fished it again, caught a big common. 56 or something, I don't know. Yeah.
Did you tell David that you had it off his hole?
Rang him straight away, mate. Have that, you French. Yeah. He's a legend, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you one more story quickly. Otherwise, this whole podcast is going to be just Cavagnac.
No, I love it, mate.
Yeah, okay, so anyone who's been to Cavagnac will know that there's a swim called the Channel. And as the name suggests, you've got a big 30 acres of lake, and you've got 3 bays that are probably 10 acres each. Then you've got this channel swim, which is significantly deeper than the whole rest of the lake. It goes from the main body of water into a long channel up to a dam wall on the main road where you come in. And the owner of the lake, Mr. Cavagnac, legend, his house was there and his back garden backed onto it. So the lake was his, we leased it off him.
Very nice.
This dam wall, it was a dam. It was a lot deeper, deepest part of the lake by a long way.
What depth are we talking?
Not very deep, 13 foot.
Okay.
A rod length, 12, 13 foot. But when the rest of the lake was 5, 6 foot, it's a big difference. And there was one swim up this channel, and the person on the left of the channel, you could get to this dam wall. However, there was a rule that Mr. Cavagnac was absolutely adamant on. There was a boathouse, sort of 3/4 of the way up towards this dam, on a point. And if you come around from the boathouse, there's a little bay that goes into his garden, 1/2 acre, absolute gold, no fish. Do you know what I mean? Like the ultimate sanctuary for these fish. We used to soap it to get them out so the customers was catching. I don't know, you've heard all this soaping. I don't know about other people's experience, but in my personal experience, and I've physically seen it, it's all absolute bollocks, mate.
They stay in there,
They fucking eat it. They just crack on, mate. That didn't faze them one bit. They loved it in there so much. And anyway, there was a rule. The fish just loved it there. They come out a lot of the time, but there was a lot of fish that just lived up there all year. And we couldn't do a lot about it. And Mr. Cavagnac was a stubborn old man. And the rule was that where the boathouse come out on the point, a line to the near bank. If the anglers went past that line, imagine me lying in their boats.
Kill zone.
They were chucked off. They were going home. He didn't
really straight chuck up.
And he had a point, because if you go past that boathouse, all of a sudden you literally feel like you're in his garden, you know. And he's sitting there with his missus and grandchildren and whatnot, and you're just going, So that was the rule. Go past the boathouse, that's it, game over. You move swims or you getting kicked off.
Did anyone get kicked off for going over that?
No, I don't think so. Everyone
pretty respectful.
Yeah, they were, because he was quite a scary old man, Mr. Gavee. Lovely, but anyway, like, I'm not having that. There's all these massive fish sitting in his garden. You know where this is going, don't you?
Yeah.
So what I would do, I'll do it for myself and the anglers that are tip me the best. Nah, the anglers that I liked, I used to do it every now and again. And even David, the bailiff, said, "Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. Like, if we piss off Mr. Gavee, we're in trouble here." All right, mate. But the little kid in me, a lot of the time I respect it and go, "Sorry, guys, I can't put your rods past the boathouse." Don't get me wrong, I put them on the boathouse, but I can't go past it. We're in trouble. Occasionally, and for myself, when there was no anglers there in the winter, I stayed out there. Say the lake finished in November, the anglers stopped coming for the close season. I'd stay out there till December. We'd do a bit of work maintenance. I'd fly back for Christmas. That is my element. I'll get to do a lot of fishing. Now it's December, it's freezing in France. However, this deep area, it was deeper, all the fish from the lake would sort of congregate up in this deep. It's game on. And anyway, what I found out I could do over time, and through a lot of practice, and I got caught loads. Like, even I got
by
caught
him,
loads. By him, yeah. And
what
I could speak a little bit of French. I was quite all right in French at the time, yeah. And he could speak not a word of English. So occasionally he would catch me. He would come out. His garden was literally right there, and he would catch me. He was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I'm just clearing the dam, mate. I'm not. And I hide the rod quickly in the bottom of the boat. I'm just clearing the dam, like, with a rake. I'd always take a rake out with me.
Nice,
so if he come in his garden, I'll be clearing the reeds and the weed off and he'd be like, "Okay, just hurry up, will ya? I'm trying to, I'm cooking the dinner." "All right, chill. I'm just doing my job." However, this boathouse that was on the corner, if I rode out dead opposite the pontoon along the far margin, which was a good area because this is the margin they would use to come in and out of the channel, padded. Okay. If I went straight out and then left up towards the boathouse, if that makes sense, up towards the dam wall end, he couldn't see me in the boat. And it was his hobby. Whoever was fishing a channel swim that week, he would be like, he was bored. He was bored. He loved catching people. He would just watch them all and then ring the lodge and go, "Hey, the anglers are doing it." So "Sorry, guys, we've had a complaint." Anyway, I'd go opposite, creep up the margin, get to the boathouse. It was like the size of a car garage. And I worked out, I've done a lot of planning here.
I can tell, mate.
So if I creeped up that margin and moored my boat just behind this boathouse, he couldn't see me. It's impossible for him to see me from one of his 20 shadow windows in his house, yeah? He couldn't see me, so I'd sit there and I'd moor up and I'd just watch where these fish were bubbling and everything. Wait till it gets dark. And just on dark, same time every evening, like 9 o'clock or whatever, you'd hear his shutters go on his windows. Game on. Now it's game on. I'd wait, give it another couple of minutes. I knew his routine. Like, you could almost see his like kitchen windows would shut. Go up the stairs. He'd go brush his teeth in his bathroom. They would shut. Lights off. Right, he's in bed. He's an old man. He's stuck to the same routine every night, you know. And game time. So I'd creep out in the boat, little electric engine. Everything was ready again. No head torch. Drop the rod. Get back to the swim. Put a big bank stick on the edge of the boathouse because I was going around the corner here at 90 degrees. I'm getting so much trouble.
You're all right now, mate.
I'm all right.
No reprieve.
Thank you. Yeah. Put a bank stick on the corner of the boathouse so the line or the braid wouldn't cut into it. Single bleep. I'd already be in the boat. Yeah, and so I caught it. That was good fun. How
many did you have out of there?
Loads. Not necessarily his garden. It was just a dam wall. The deeper area. His garden was quite shallow, but the dam wall was past the boundary. But if you just went up to that dam wall and dropped one right off the wall, 12 foot, 13 foot.
But that's double bubble because it's in a safe zone and it's deeper, isn't it?
And we used to caught a few big ones doing that. I'll show you some photos. Couple of big commons.
Edge, mate.
So that was good fun.
But nice to have the lake yourself. That was your formative sort of learning stomping grounds, mate, wasn't it, really?
Mate, that's what I mean. I've gone from... And you imagine after that, so I spent 3 years there, so we're now into 2010, maybe I come back to the UK. got to a point where I'd done 3.5 seasons, and I was just like, I'm sorry, Kev, but sorry, Dave, I've had enough. I need to come home. And they respected that, because whilst I was out there having the time of my life, I was also missing out on all the things that someone my age should be doing. I was missing out going out with my mates and partying and all the cool stuff I should be doing when I was 18. Don't get me wrong, I'll go back every now and again. Every 6-7 weeks, I'll fly back for a week, have a little blowout, come back. Like, whenever I wanted to go back, I could be on the phone, they'd let me back. But after 3.5 years, I got to like 21, I thought I need to make a decision here, because unfortunately, no disrespect, but a bailiffing job's not a career, is it? It's not a job for life.
No, you haven't really got any roots, have you?
And I said that, and thankfully they were really kind about it and said, okay, come back to Essex. If you're willing to move to Essex, we'll give you a job in the bait factory or the warehouse packing boxes. Brilliant, thank you. They could have just gone, all right, thank you, piss off, like you've done. You know what I mean? I was the one that decided to leave. Anyway, so I come back to the UK, and it was literally like starting carp fishing again.
Really? I can imagine.
Because, like I mentioned previous to this, all I'd done was day ticket floater fishing, a few overnighters. I was very basic. Like, I weren't very good. I was all right. But all of a sudden, I was an absolute animal in a boat, and I had a PB of 60 pounds. Like, do you know what I mean? Come back to the UK, and I was like, now what? I moved to Essex as well.
I was going to say, yeah, because you were Milton Keynes, weren't you?
Original Milton Keynes,
massive.
So I was just fishing park lakes and club waters and day tickets in Bedford when I went to college, and come back to Essex, moved to Essex, and I was like, right. Hadn't cast a rod in 3 years, probably.
Wow.
So yeah. What did I do? I didn't fish for a while. It took me time to get back into it. I'll tell you what happened. I moved into the lodge. We've talked about this. Alan's talked about it. Everyone's talked about it.
The infamous lodge,
Lodge life. First moved down to Essex. Moved into the lodge with the boys. Church Lake. The Holy Grail. And all at this point, I'd never seen Church Lake. I just heard about it. It was like, oh my God. Like, I speak to Kev every morning. What's coming out of the church? Anything coming out? He's like, yeah, £50. Jesus Christ. And at this point, it wasn't open to the public, but there was people fishing it every week. So it would either be a shop invited down to fish, a retailer,
I see,
consultant, magazine, someone. Kev used it as a little, still does, like as a thank you, as a reward for the customers, like, etc. So there was constantly people fishing it, and they would knock on the lodge at 8 in the morning to get a knock, or 7 in the morning. Oh, can you help with this fish? Yeah, no problem. So I was sort of bailiffing still.
That's
Do you know
pretty
what I
much
mean?
France in your back garden.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So I got to know the church a little bit. Anyway, he let people fish it at weekends as well, consultants or whatnot. And at the time, we had Billy Flowers, Jamie Londers on board. Yeah. Legend, still speak to him. And for whatever reason, Jamie must have not been able to make it for some reason. He must have, because Bill was coming on his own, and Nash and Alan were like, do you want to fish with Bill for the weekends? Like, we don't want him to fish on his own, because just handling the big fish and everything. Like, he always wanted 2 people down there for safety reasons. And that's another story in a minute, I'll tell you. But anyway, yeah, so do you want to fish with Bill for the weekend, Friday to Sunday on the church? Of course I do, absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, we battered it.
Really?
Yeah.
What we talking?
I think I come back from Cavagnac in July 2010 or 9, or I can't remember. 2010. We fished it in the August for Friday till Sundays, baking hot, and we just battered it. I didn't have a clue really what I was doing, where the spots and that at this point. Bill had a 40, I think, and 3 or 4 30s, a couple of 20s, I think. He had about 5-6 fish. I somehow managed to catch a few, a 30, a 20, and then on a Sunday afternoon as we're packing up, I caught the power station at 44 pounds.
Go on, Forman.
It's dead now, unfortunately, that one. Real character, probably the most famous mirror in the lake at the time. And then I flung the rod back out, and then had the big common at like 47. So I've come from France, catch. my English PB was probably 26-7 pounds at.
Yeah, you pretty much doubled
when
it.
I was 16, 17. Gone to France, caught all these big ones. Come back to church, caught 2 40-pounders within a month of being back in the country. I was like, this is all right, this. I could get back into this. Anyway.
Carp fishing's great.
Anyway, I got to flirt around. I don't know, what did I do? I think I would have bought a couple of club tickets around Essex. Didn't have a syndicate, didn't have any money. Like, I was just, do you know what I mean? I was still Needed to save a bit of money. Couldn't afford a big syndicate ticket. So I just floated about in a few club waters, I think.
How did you find the whole Essex scene compared to MK? Because it is very different.
Very different. I was very... it was daunting because all I knew was Essex has been the home of carp. It was, wasn't it? It was the home of carp fishing. All these, like, all the companies were based there, or a lot of them, based in the Essex area, and all these famous fish that I'd heard about, the Annie and the Essex Manor, the amphibian, and all these big fish. A lot of them were in Essex, so I was like, God, this is, what am I going to do here? I'm a nobody. Anyway, caught them about the church. I was like, oh, carp fish is easy. Like, probably didn't catch anything. All these club waters floated about. Couldn't really catch a lot. And I got another chance to fish the church in 2000 and... it was 2012. I'll tell you why. Don't get me wrong. We there was a period in 2012 when the lodge needed renovating, painting, etc.
Yeah.
And Nash was like, lads, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it in your spare time? As a reward, you can do a couple of nights on the church. Absolutely. Where's the paintbrush, mate?
Sign me up.
Well, sign me up, yeah. And that's what we've done. So we done a few nights each on the church. Me, Ditch worked for us at the time. Reedy might have left by now, I'm not sure. Ollie come in and do a few. Wilson. We all had a go. It was lovely. It was wicked. And this one time, me and Ditch were fishing a weekend. This was a bad time. I can talk about it now, but at the time it was not cool. It was not cool at all. But I'm going to tell you.
We'll filter this. Make sure Nashy doesn't get wind of it.
No, he knows now because we've talked about it since. But at the time, it was my first real Nashy bollocking.
Really?
Yeah, not just me, Ditch as well. Because we were just a bit... It wasn't what happened, but the aftermath of we didn't handle it very well. We should have, basically was... Fuck it, I'll tell you what happened. We were fishing for the weekend down at church. It was 2012. I know this. It was May because it was the Champions League final. We were watching it in the lodge. When Chelsea won the Champions League. We were fishing the weekend because we were painting the lodge. Had all the rods out. Ditch's friend Pie, Steve, aka Pie, haven't seen him in years. He come down for a little social, barbecue and whatnot. Ditch took him back up on the quad to drop him back in the car park. He was going home. And he didn't come back for ages. I was like, he must be fanning about at the lodge. Anyway, I heard the quad coming back. I was like, he's coming back. So I was like watching the rods, I had his receiver, and I was like, come on, dude. Anyway, he come back. I heard the quad, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear it. And I was like, that's not... You can normally hear the lodge coming, hear the quad coming all the way down the track back to the lodge. And it just stopped all of a sudden. I was like, where is he? So I went and looked for him, and I found him on the floor, going, and the quad was like...
What?
The quad looked normal, I think. The quad was fine. And he wasn't going fast or anything. He had literally... I don't know whether he'd hit a bump in the track or just... He'd fallen off the quad, basically. Fallen off the quad, and he was on the floor, and he broke his collarbone.
Oh, mate.
And then I was like, oh, God, what do we do here? Shit, oh, no. And he was in pain, he couldn't move. I was like, you could be all right? You sure you're not just bruised it? I looked at it, I was like, oh, no, it's definitely
Jog
bad.
it off, mate.
It was definitely bad. So all of a sudden, I didn't know what to do here. We had 6 rods out on the church. He was all right, Ditch. He was fine. He was just like, I need to go to hospital and get this sorted. He calmed down. The quad was fine. It was all right. So I rang Matt, who lived down the road, Nipples. He used to work for us. And I was like, Matt, I need your help here. Can you, any chance? I'd had a couple of beers. That was it. I'd had a couple of beers. Not loads. Had a couple with dinner, and I wouldn't have been able to drive
him. Yeah.
Didn't really want to call an ambulance. I was a bit scared. It's like, Nash will hit the roof, mate. Getting an ambulance coming in. So Matt was like, all right, I'll come and take him to Southend Hospital. He did. He was fine. Prior to this, I've missed a bit. An hour before this had happened, what time is it now? It would have been quite late, 11 or something like that. Ditch had caught a 4x4.
Oh, wow.
We'd done some night shots. Thankfully, thank the Lord, I decided to snap a couple of night shots. But we also kept it in the sack. We were like, we should keep this. Kev might want to see it. And Kev would walk around early morning. So it was 11 p.m. or something. So we'd keep it in the sack till 5. Not the end of the world. It was all right, So the 4x4 was in the sack. Ditch was on his way to Southend Hospital. And just as I got back to the lodge, I was like, oh, God, this is a dreadful night. I had a bite. Of course I had a bite.
Yeah. Sod's law.
Ran round. I think I was fishing little zigs. You're allowed zigs at the time. I can't remember. Netted a fish. It was the decade fish, the second biggest fish in the lake.
No.
49.12. All of a sudden, we still had the 4x4.
In a sack, you got that.
I had a 49 pounder. What do I do now? What do I do now? And the worst bit about all this, I didn't enjoy it one bit because all I was doing, I had a horrible sick feeling in my stomach. I was like, this is bad. It's been a bad night. Went from a high, we're having a lovely barbecue, to a low. And then this has happened. So I've got the two biggest fish. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? And long story short, I also left it in the net because by now, I think the bite was a couple of hours later. So it was 1 a.m. or something. Okay. I had my bite. So it's going to be light in a few hours. Kept it in the net. Tried to do some... So, long story short, I had a 55 pounder and a 49 pounder to deal with on my own. I was into my photography a little bit, but the whole self-time and self-shots didn't nail. And
it's not the one with fish that size either, is it?
And it was 49 pounds. Definitely my UK PB. No. And I ended up getting these dreadful out-of-focus shots before slipping it back. And I knew they were dreadful, but I couldn't work the camera. I don't know. I couldn't get the focus right with the old intervalometer thing. It was just a nightmare.
Oh, and you put it back?
And I was still really scared. I was like, Kev could come around at any point now when I've got these fish. I don't want to keep them out of the water too long. It's massive. What if I drop it? I'm on my own. And I just shit myself and put it back. Oh. Look back at the camera. They're all out of focus. I was like, oh, God.
That's horrible.
So, yeah, long story short, I had to slip back a 49 pounder PB without any decent photos, and also slip back Ditch's 55 pounder whilst he's laid up in Southend Hospital.
What a session, mate.
Thank the Lord I took do you know what? He's just posted it as a throwback or some just now on Instagram. And it reminded me that, the 4x4, I'll get it for you. And this is why, I wasn't going to talk about this, but it rang a bell. So
Ditch.
Good times.
Well, that is one eventful.
Looking back now, it was.
Did Nash even see the 4x4, mate? Did he come round in the morning? No.
Long story short, I got in trouble because instead of reporting it immediately, because it was late at night, I didn't want to. Instead of reporting it immediately, I thought I would wait till I'd spoke to Ditch, get our story right. Not that we were going to lie about anything.
No.
But I wanted to make sure he was all right, and then the next morning I was going to go and tell all that had happened, which I did. But yeah, I got in a bit of trouble for not ringing.
What was that like, mate? Ringing
Nashy at midnight and telling him, which I should have. Looking back now, it's silly. I was young, man. I was immature.
What was that like, mate? Because he's like Sir Alex Ferguson of carp fishing dress downs, I've heard.
He bollocked me.
Proper, full-on shouts.
Didn't talk to me for a few days, and then it was all over and we crack on. Like anything like that. He was annoyed. Of course he was.
He didn't talk to me for a couple of days.
He was just annoyed that he was worried. Like, he was like, you should have just rang me. You were down the lake on your own. I would have come and helped you. Ditch was in like.
You don't want to ring someone at 1 a.m. saying, my mate has basically fallen off a blinking scooter and he's cracked his collarbone.
I was naive, man. I was young at the time. Didn't really know. Like, this was, again, 2011 or whatever, 10 years ago. And I was new to the work environment in Essex, and I was still, I made a bad decision, should have, but it was all good.
Lesson learned.
It's a good story I thought about it, I thought this will be a good story for a podcast in 10 years' time.
That is a good one, mate. We're ruining your book here, mate, when you publish your memoirs.
Mate. That's it. They're my two best stories.
Job done.
Cheers.
But in terms of Essex, so obviously, apart from the church, any other significant captures, stories, incidents, venues spring to mind?
What did I do? So that would have been 2012. Around that same time, I think I got my first syndicate ticket, Lakelands. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Chelmsford Way, Hatfield, Peveril. And in fact, I had a club ticket on Colchester Angling, Bovey 1 and Bovey 2. because it's all I really could afford. It was something to go on. Anyone could get a ticket. And it was right opposite Lakelands. Reedy was fishing Lakelands, which was right across the road, Syndicate. He'd got on there through Terry Edmonds, whose dad was head bailiff there. Terry Edmonds was a consultant for us at the time, developing our rods and our XD rods, I think it was at the time. And Reedy was on there. I went on a guestie with him. I was like, this is a bit of me. Got to know Terry's dad, the bailiff, and got a ticket. He said, do you want a ticket? Why not?
Nice.
I needed somewhere to fish. And at the time, that was my first ever experience with a syndicate feel. I'd never fished syndicate in Milton Keynes. Come from Cavagnac, fished at church, floated about on some club waters. I was now on a syndicate.
You've made it.
Fishing for named fish that were quite famous in Essex, you know. Like a lot of Elliot Gray was for there on the year before. I think Neil Spooner was fishing it at the time. A couple of the other Corder lads. So it was proper water. These fish were on the Essex.
Yeah, Essex finest.
Yeah. Single scale in particular, I think. That was the one. Anyway, long story short, Reedy caught it. I photographed it for Reedy. He then caught the Swirly Common. I caught a few, like a couple, but he was like one step ahead of me. He was a year ahead of me. He knew it. I was just learning it. And then it died, single scale.
Oh, no.
So I fished it for a year, didn't renew my ticket. Don't know what's happened with the place now, but Swirly, I presume, is dead now as well. It was a real old fish.
Yeah, it's dropped off.
So that was that one over. And then 2013, I think it would have been, I got wind of Silver End.
Oof.
Now
I've just come off the back of filming some podcasts with Kev himself, mate.
Yeah.
And Silver End is pretty infamous, not only because of the development of the things, but also it's pretty synonymous with Nashy, mate.
Yeah.
So to go on there and work for Nash, I wouldn't want to do it.
No.
Was there any trepidation, or were you like...
Absolutely, but I had nowhere else to really fish. It was a cheap club ticket, Kelvedon angling. And Nashy really encouraged me to do it. Basically, Kev was putting his book together at the time. One of my jobs, I was sort of media marketing at the time. One of my jobs was to help him look through all his old slides, find all the Silver Ends, well, anything for all the chapters, develop the photos for the book.
Yeah.
So I learned about Silver End, and he would be with me talking about, and he would sort of be relaying all these stories to me as I was looking through the slides. I was like, I've got a big mirror here. It looks like a da-da-da-da-da. He'd be like, Silver End, big end, 40-pounder. I was like, 40-pounder, yeah. He was like, yeah, 1985. So the first 40 caught from Essex record. I was like, really? That's cool. Anyway, now I know the story fully. Like, I realised what a big deal it was and how big these Silver End pits were.
Yeah.
They were famous lakes, not just in Essex, in the whole country. And when he mentioned to me, he's like, yeah, there's still some of the originals in there. I was like, no way. You're joking. Not the big one. The big mirror had died, unfortunately, but there was some of these originals that he had caught that was still residing in these lakes. And I was like, what? Yeah, £100 ticket. I'll have a go for that. He was like, do it. Go and do it. Go and have a go. So I did. And looking back now in hindsight, I spent way too much time fishing for not a lot, really. They were two club lakes, a front pit and a back pit. The front pit, which was the historical lake that Kev fished,
Yeah.
it didn't have many carp in it. It was really hard. I'd done a lot of overnight, a lot of blanks. Looking back now, it's a 40-minute journey up the A12. And I was doing overnighters as well, not like a day and a half like some people class as an overnighter. I was getting there at 7 p.m. I was gone by 7 a.m. And yeah, looking back now, I wasted a lot. Not wasted, it wasn't wasted. I loved it. But I spent a lot of time on those lakes for not a lot. Not fishing for a lot. A couple of 30-pounders on the front pit, 20-pounders. But they were old, lovely carp.
Was it pretty busy in terms of anglers?
Not really. The back pit was busy because it was where the club had spent more effort on that back pit. Don't know why. It's a horrible lake, really. It is complete opposite to the front pit. Not horrible. But
it's like quite barren.
The front pit was old, like an old sort of estatey type pit. Trees, like high banks around it, quiet, secluded, lily pads, lovely. Back pit was all open, like cowfield type venue. Much busier, full of fish. There weren't really any swims. It was all just like plot up along a grass bank. There was probably like 3 sets of trees on the whole lake. Other than that, it was just open.
Right.
And as a result, because that's where they'd stocked all the new stockies in, there was a lot more fish in there. It was easier. 90% of the members went for the back pit. Fine, no problem. I fished the front pit and spent sort of a season or two fishing for the 30 pounders that were in there. There was a big common, obviously the big common, 35 pounds or something, and Scatter the mirror, which was about the same weight. Scatter was the fish that everyone talked about. All the members were like, oh, I'm here for Scatter.
Yeah.
I'll have a go for that. Why not? Lovely old mirror, perfect mirror. Old English thing, lovely. And it was old as well, like 30 years, 35 years old. I thought, I'm going to catch that one, have a go for it. So I put a lot of effort into that silver end pit, and it was hard, man. I don't know how many carp were in there, but there wasn't a lot.
No.
I've done a lot of blank overnighters. And when I did catch one, it was more often than not an upper double common, and then occasionally I'll get lucky with a 20 pounder. And when I was really lucky, I'll catch one of the old scaly mirrors, which is what I wanted.
Nice.
Between 20 pounds and Scatter, which was 35. Anyway, I caught Scatter quite early, fluked it.
No way.
Yeah, I learned very early on that these fish, every night they would show in the main body of water. In the open water, there was a point and a little sort of shallows off to the right, but it's a pretty circular main body of water. Not big, couple of acres, the lake, I'd say, 3 acres, something like that. Every night, they would just crash out in this middle. Game on. Fish in the middle there, mine off the point where I can access them. Couldn't get a bite out there for the love nor money.
Really?
Yeah, wasted a lot of time. I had a couple on zigs the first weekend I fished it, 26 pounder and a smaller one.
In the open water?
In the open water. Early morning it was, so it was light, but early morning, so it's sort of in the open water. I say sort of because I quickly worked out that they'd spend all their night out there. By first light, they were on this one bank that people would fish across to from the point swims, but there was actually swims around there as well where you could just fish in the edge.
Right.
So I learned very early that these fish would spend their time in the open water, and people would just fish these point swims, fishing for them. But every morning, by early morning, they were along this bank, lily pads, and they were here. Mate, if I had a bushwhacker now...
Absolutely destroyed
I didn't. I was wading out and just dropping them. So yeah, I learnt this, and that's how I caught the majority of them, including Scatter and Mirror. I caught it from like this big willow, deep bit in the willow. And it'd come out 2 weeks before this Scatter. And this one weekend that it had come out, I decided to go and have a go on the back pit because I was blanking and I wanted to go and get a few bites.
Yeah.
The big Scatter comes out. Of course it does. The one weekend I'm not fishing it. No, sorry. Yeah, it was a weekend. I've only really done overnighters because I was playing football still at the time back in Milton Keynes. So I travelled back to Milton Keynes every weekend, play football, go out on the piss. Ooh, lads. So I was only really doing quick overnighters. For whatever reason, I decided to do a weekend session. Right, this is it. I'm going for it. I got there and I think the front pit might have been a bit busy. So I ended up fishing the back pit to try and get a few bites. Lo and behold, Scatter, the big mirror, comes out to an angler. Anyway, I carried on fishing the front pit. 2 weeks later, I'm fishing, put the rods out in the edge, catch Scatter the mirror, 33 pounds or whatever it was.
Mega.
Game on, happy days. Caught a few more over the next, carried on fishing it because the common was still in there and some other scaly ones. Didn't have another ticket. Might as well carry on. Carried on after this big common. Never caught it. Lost it, I think, once.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, just hook pull, roaring take, ripped off. And there weren't many other big ones in there, so...
On the bottom, on a zig?
On the bottom, yeah, just in the edge. And by this time, Loz was fishing with me. Loz had come and fished. He was working for us at the time. So I'd fished it a year by myself, and then Loz had come for the second year. So we were sort of tag teaming it a little bit. He was doing the same as me in the edge. He'd done really well, actually. He caught a few. He caught Scatter. None of us caught a big common. But between us, we caught some lovely 20-pounders, scalies, that didn't come out much because people were just fishing out in the middle and we were catching them all under our rod tips. So it was good times, man. But yeah, I can show you a handful of photos, but for the amount of time I spent on there for these photos.
But they're cool fish.
Of course they are. They're really cool fish. And anyway, long story short, I went and I still had a ticket there. So I went and had a go on a back pit because at this point I found out that one of the fish that used to reside, I was fishing for this fish called Ghost.
Right.
That was in Kev's book, the iconic shot, portrait, black and white photo, mirror, slate grey mirror, linear type thing, half linear, about £19. Kev caught it in 1983. I remember all this because I've just done a Insta memorable catcher story.
We're going to ruin that Insta.
No, it's live. It's been live.
Nice.
Oh, you've seen it. Cheers. you
I saw the other one that we're going to talk about later.
So it's all fresh in the memory. So I thought this mirror was in the front pit still. Lo and behold, it was still alive, but it had been put in the back pit. I was like, brilliant. I've wasted just time trying to catch it. It was now called Stardust. Starburst, Stardust, something like that. Someone had renamed it. One of the members, I don't know, at some point, and it was still in the back pit. But everyone was like, it's Nash's fish. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. This fish, 1983, and it was now 2014 or 15 maybe.
Wow.
30 odd years, isn't it?
But also, Nashy's caught it. You're working for Nash. What
a cool thing it would be to catch this carp. So I had nowhere else to fish. I'd paid my ticket. Let's have a go on the back pit. I'm going to have to part with how busy it was, and there was a lot of stockies in there. I'll have a go, why not? So it was, I just thought it was just a cool story that this fish that Nashy caught that was in the front pits now was hiding with all these new stockies in this back pit, swimming around minding his own business. Like, you think all this happened in that time. I remember when I eventually caught it and I was holding it up. I say this on the Instagram story. All this happened in that time. You think it's 35 years or whatever since Kev caught it.
That's crazy.
To me, 33 years. Yeah, something like that. I was holding this fish up when I eventually caught it thinking, all this happened in that time. Nash, when he just started Nash Tackle at this point. Happy Hooker Tackle it was called at the time.
Yeah.
So Kev was just coming into the industry and all this happened since then. He's developed Nash Tackle and this become to this phenomenon. I wasn't even born.
Yeah.
I've lived my whole life, 33 years, and this fish this whole time had just been swimming about in that lake.
That's mad, isn't it?
And then I'm holding it. It was a really cool story. There's nothing. Yeah, I caught it eventually.
Did you try and like mimic the pose and all that, mate, or
Nah,
not?
I didn't really. I don't know why I didn't.
Well, maybe it wasn't.
I don't know why
mate.
I didn't.
Maybe Insta wasn't so prevalent then.
Yeah,
mate.
I wasn't doing it for Insta then.
You
I was
were
doing
doing
it
it
for
for
my own. How times have changed. So there's nothing too exciting about the catcher. I put a lot of time in there, caught loads of stockies, battered them on the floaters.
Really?
Yeah, lost that goat. It had a bit of a deformed mouth where it had been caught a bit over the years. It was old, and I saw it taking mixers in close once, hooked it. I think I lost it. 99% sure I lost it in the weed.
And then you had it off the bottom?
I had it off the bottom on a quick overnighter, yeah.
Just a quick overnight, don't
Just put some rods out and caught it. I wish there was an exciting story I could tell you about it, but it's not. I just caught it eventually.
Result?
24-pounder. It's by no means the biggest fish I'm ever going to catch or had caught, but it was a special one.
Yeah, totally.
It's a cool photo to have in the album. Died last year, I think, that fish.
Did it?
So it survived a long time.
But as Essex water goes and where you are and where you work, mate, that is a nice sort of memory to have, isn't it?
Yeah, man. It's good times, isn't it?
What about sort of preceding that? You're well into sort of, as you say, you're in the media marketing side of Nash, and Nash is sort of kicking on in regards to when you started.
It had blown up at this point. It was blowing up big time.
What was all that like in terms of your adjustment? Because you've gone from basically managing and bailiffing a lake, being like an 18-year-old lad, to being thrust back into a warehouse in the UK, and then into, well, sort of what it is now in terms of sort of sales, marketing, etc.
Yeah, So going back a bit, I come back from Cavagnac, and they threw me straight in the warehouse packing boxes. No problem, loved it. They also got me trained up rolling boilies at the old bait factory. So when they were really busy, up against it, can you go down to bait factory for this week? Of course I can, no problem. Roll boilies. So that was another tick. We talked about this in the live, didn't we? About getting into the industry. I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to be good as much as possible. As many things within the company I could do, I wanted to tick it off my list. So although they might not seem like a big deal, I was efficient in the warehouse. I could pick orders and pack boxes. All of a sudden I could roll boilies. So that's another string to my bow, you know. And at this point I was also into my photography, got into it when I was at Cavagnac, and I would help out with Alan and Kev, because behind that, the marketing and media department, sales, product development, everything was Kevin, Basie, Alan. Alan was now working for Nash full time.
That's it.
That was it. Mental, innit? This was only in 2012, 13. So, yes, this was that time when I first come back. 2011, 12 maybe. So, in between working in the warehouses, I'd help take photos for the products and whatnot. None of them could use a camera. I was a little bit experienced. I had a camera. Tom, can you do this? Yeah, no problem. And he got so busy and Nash just blew up that I was spending my whole evenings doing it. And it got to a point where Kev just come in and said, you're in with us now. So all of a sudden I was in. The door had opened. It was my chance to take it.
Was it just like that? Brill.
So I'd done a bit of photography and a bit of... then I got the responsibility of dealing with the magazines more, because it was all magazines then. Social media was kicking off, but it weren't what it is now.
Yeah.
So I'd deal with the magazines, make sure all the adverts and the products in the magazines, catch reports, etc. from all the consultants. So I was very much involved. Yeah, and it just...
What was it like working with Al? Like, because you knew Al, because Al was obviously a lecturer when you were like at college. He'd done all the fishery management stuff, but also he's an MK boy too, isn't he?
I'd known Alan, for those that don't know, I'd known Alan since I was probably 10 years old. He was 14, 15, I don't know. Yeah, we were family friends. Our families knew each other. I went to school with... I was best mates with his younger brother, Matty, who's my age. Played football together, spent all our summer holidays together. We're inseparable. But Matty had no interest in fishing.
Yeah.
Alan and his dad did. So when I'd be around there in the summer, I would... we'd be going out, come on, let's go play footy down the park or whatever. And I'd be like, what's your brother and your dad up to? Oh, they're going fishing tomorrow. Like, I was like, all right, football. Like, but secretly I wanted to go fishing anyway. It developed over time. Alan basically stole me, like stole his brother's best friend. And over time, Matty actually moved schools. Matty moved to Kingsbrook, which was closer to where they lived in their village. So we still talked, but we weren't going to the same school anymore. But I kept going around there, and I started going fishing with Alan and his dad a lot. So that's how it progressed. So I've known Alan. I then finished school. Alan got me to come and do this course at Shuttleworth because he was lecturing there at the time. I said yes.
What was he like as a lecturer, mate?
It's just Alan, innit?
That's a very general comment for viewers. You need to distinguish that further.
To be fair, it was a tough one. We had to it's a bit of a weird situation because he was a lecturer, but also I've known him all these years. But he didn't really lecture me, to be fair. I was the older class, so he would lecture the first year sort of thing. So although we'd done stuff together, yeah.
Mega. And then at Nash, obviously he's there as well.
So he got his link in, but at the same point as me, because he was the lecturer that brought the college students out to Cavagnac to do the work parties. Yeah. I'd left college, got offered a job. He kept bringing the next lot of students out. And then over that time, Chippy Dave noticed Alan. And Kev got wind, realised that he was an animal. Like, he was a man, he was a good guy, and offered him a job. Like, saw something in him, offered him a job, which was a bloody good decision.
Yeah, good call, mate. Well done.
Look what's happened. So fair play, Chippy, Dave, for spotting him. Yeah, and
a good call, mate. In terms of the MK boys come down to Essex.
Yeah. So by the time I'd finished my time at Cavagnac, Alan was already down here in the offices. He'd probably been working for Nash by the time I'd finished my 3 years at Cavagnac, he'd probably been here 12 months, 18 months or something. So he got me, he was my door in, if you like. He needed help. I helped with photography, magazines, a bit of social media, etc. And then just like that, in the blink of an eye,
boom.
All these people, like Mikey come in, product development, Ollie come in as a photographer and media guy, Dan Yeomans eventually, Alpha, and then we've got
it's mad, isn't it?
It just went crazy. And then the video side of things got really big, obviously. And in 2000, we started doing these yearly DVDs. We released a free DVD.
Yeah, they were wicked.
Mate, those are the days. So it was like Nash 2012, 13, 14, one a year, free on the counter. So the whole year in media was built up. We didn't release regular content really, maybe the odd product video and whatnot, but each chapter was filmed 10 chapters or whatever throughout the year, put all together at the year, released the DVD, Nash 2015. And I'd done a chapter on Silver End.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in the office today, that Nash 2000, and we put it online since YouTube. It's done a ridiculous amount of...
it's quality.
It's still going up like that, all from the States and that. It's our most viewed video, unless I might be wrong. It might be just beyond the Eurobanks ones, but the Nash 2015 is our most viewed one, I believe, on YouTube.
They're all quality.
Millions of views.
I've watched them all. Even me, I've watched them back, mate. They're brilliant.
So the Nash 2015 one featured my Silver M chapter.
Go on the boy.
Must be where all the views were coming from.
What was it like being like filmed? Because obviously
that was my first
real.
Although I'd done the odd bits and bobs, like that was my first piece where I was sitting down at Silver End talking about my campaign. It was like a big deal. Winston come down, Ollie come down. I was like, fuck it out.
Were you nervous?
I'm going to be on the DVD.
Mum, I'm on the DVD.
I told you I'd make it. So yeah, and one of the other chapters was on said DVD was the Telly at Social.
Oh, mate. That's some session from you boys, isn't it?
And that is worth talking about, worth a mention, I think, because that was the first social that we done together. It was the first. It was never intended to be a piece.
Was it not?
No, we just took loads of video cameras with us, like camcorders. No,
classic. Nash.
Dan Yeomans weren't working for us at the time. Ollie was the only media guy that was capable with a camera. Winston didn't come because he weren't fishing. He didn't want to come. Wasn't an angler, so it was just us boys with a couple of camcorders and Ollie's proper cameras.
Yeah.
And we just took the camcorders, and it was just what it is. It was a social. Kev just rewarded us for. It was October, end of the year, 2014, and Kev just rewarded us for end of year awards. We're going on a social to Telliats.
Brilliant.
Jolly
Kev.
Boys out in.
Sort it out this year, Kev.
Yeah, you know, I'd love to go back there for another go.
But you did, mate. That filming piece. I'm glad you did take cameras.
So yeah,
because,
mate, we just filmed anything. Like everyone had a camcorder, or every couple of swims had a camcorder, and we just filmed it. We didn't know what for. We just filmed it. Luckily, Ollie was on hand still to catch shots and whatnot. Winston put it all together and made what turned out to be a bit of a masterpiece in terms of to sell it, and started the whole social.
Yeah, where it all began. You had a mega result.
I did eventually.
Yeah, it was tough, but then
it was very tough.
Talk us through it, mate. Talk us through the week.
Right, okay. So it was our first lads' holiday together. Buzzing. Obviously, of course we were. Wilson, Kurt was there. Kurt was fishing at the time. Kurt works in Spurs and Returns now. Les, the gardener. Ollie, me, Nipples, Matt, Loz, Kev, Alan. Is that everyone? I think that was everyone, yeah. Had the whole lake booked. Brilliant. Buzzing. No, do you know what? I kept quiet, but I was secretly buzzing about this. I knew you can use boats there.
That's perfect for you.
And I was in my element. Yeah. I was in my element. Come out last in a draw or come out fifth in a draw, me personally. I had a good swim. There was only not many of us fishing. Like, you weren't going to get a bad swim. I ended up fishing the bank with... Loz was in... I can't remember the name of it. Big bay to my right. Where he was told that it does a few big uns, but not loads. He was like, that'll do me. I'll just sit it out for a couple of big uns, maybe. Let him be able to catch his £60 on the first night. We'd only been there a few hours. It just got dark, and we were like, he's got £60.
That's mad, isn't it?
£61 or whatever. Ollie was to my left, and I was sort of in the middle. Matt was also in between me and Ollie. Long old bank, like. So there's four of us fishing this bank. Mikey got off to a flyer down in Shithouse Bay. That's what it was called. He was catching a lot of fish. It was clear that a lot of fish were down in that bay. He was absolutely catching 4, 5, 6 a day. Les was having a couple a bit further up. Kurt was catching quite consistently off the bailiff's point, fishing out into the main body. Ollie, Alan and Kev were catching fairly consistently.
Right.
They were doing all right. They were opposite us. I, on the other hand, was struggling. They just weren't in front of me. They were not in front of me. I was fishing a large part of the main body of water, but they just weren't creeping over to my bank. Ollie to my left had managed a few, not loads. He had managed a few. He then caught a 66-pound scaly, lovely old carp.
Yeah, I remember that.
Happy days. Matt had caught nothing. I'd caught nothing. Loz had caught 160, maybe a small one, not a lot. So it weren't really happening on our bank. And it got to like the Wednesday, the 4th night in. And by now I was like, oh no, I've got to make a call here. Got to really make a decision. Mikey was still having it off. He had the whole bay to himself pretty much. I was like, Mikey, can I come and fish opposite you in, I think it's called Big Double or something. There's another swim opposite Mikey, double. Can I come down there and have a go? And he could do with catching one here. He was like, yeah, no problem. Packed everything up in the boat, rowed across. When I was rowing across, I remember thinking, it's almost like I got out into the lake and I could feel the wind swinging. I could feel it happening. And I was like, something come over me. I was like, I'm making a bad decision here.
Really?
But I went with it. Got to my new swim, put my bolly up. I was just, because I had a bivvy, left my bivvy in my other swim. Took my bolly with me just because I was going to do a quick night, hopefully catch a few. And got opposite Mikey. I went round to see him. I was like, how many you had today then? He's like, oh no, I ain't had any. I was like, oh no. The wind had swung out of his bay, just trickling out of his bay. It had gone from being sunny and nice to overcast and wet. And I got soaked coming over in the boat. I was like, you timed that well, Tom. Like, got into the middle of the lake. Started pissing down, all my gear was wet, I was wet. I was like, brilliant, this best pay off. Got the rods out in my new swim. Remember sitting back, I was like, right, come on, we can do this. Remember looking back towards like the main body of water to my main swim, and I just see fish like...
Oh, no.
Literally watched them leave this bay to the main body of water again, to the point where by the time I'd got my 3rd rod out in this new swim, sat back, they were like, on me.
Oh, that's horrible.
On my baited patch. And the wind was by now head like towards my bank, smashing into my bank. Ollie got me on the walkie-talkie. He's like, "You've messed. Have you seen him?" I was like, "Yeah, I've seen him, Ollie." He was like, "Get back in now."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to." Anyway, reeled in. The wind was hacking. I was like, "I'm gonna have to go out in a boat here," but it'll take me. The wind, I'll just go with the wind. All my gear was in the boat. Probably shouldn't have done it. Looking back, that was a bit dangerous. No, in fact, I didn't do it. I bottled it, and Matt come and got me in the van. He could drive around. He come and got me. That was it. Sorry. Took all my gear. I just rode back in the boat without all the gear in.
Because it must have been fairly windy then. That's a proper wind.
It was very windy, so much so that as I was rowing back across the lake, looked up. Loz got on the walkie-talkie. I just had my head down and I was rowing. Like,
yeah.
Had the walkie-talkie in my pocket and I heard, Tom, get back here now. I was like, I couldn't get to my walkie-talkie, so I couldn't answer. I just kept rowing and I was like, all right, I'm coming. I've seen the fish, chill out. He was like, your bivvy's gone.
Oh, no.
So my bivvy, I hadn't used the ground sheet, or I had used the ground sheet, but it wasn't an inner mesh capture. It was the old Titan. So probably hadn't pegged it properly because there was no wind. It was lovely and sunny. And it had just gone, and it was in the bushes behind me, and all my stuff was getting wet. All my clothes bags and that lot I'd left behind was getting soaked. Lots had saved my bivvy, but by this point it was too late, and everything was wet.
And
I got back to the swim, and I was like, "This has been the worst day ever. Not only have I moved swims, and it's not paid off. All my clothes are wet, and I'm still blanking." Anyway, got my head together, like had a word with myself, got the rods back out on the new spot, and it just kicked off the last 2 days for us on that bank. Loz had a couple more. Matt had moved down into the bay as well.
Had he gone with you?
No, he had gone before me. I forgot to mention this. Matt had gone before me right into the corner opposite Mikey. I was a bit further up in the bay.
Okay.
Matt had caught a couple of catfish, but no carp yet. But he was fishing the margin here, and I think he's quite lazy. He was not lazy. He was chilled. Like he was just there for the
social
lovely time. He was like, I'm just going to stay here, mate. It's raining. Like it looks horrible over there, and it was. Anyway, this storm cleared. And it's flat calm, and I could put my rods out in my boat back on my spots. It was game on now. And yeah, it just kicked off the last 48 hours or a bit longer, like 2.5 days. Last 2.5 days, I've just had it off, and I think I ended up on like 9 fish or something.
Yeah.
And
a couple of days.
I was rowing out. It got so crazy. The fish had just turned up.
Yeah.
And it got so crazy that I was rowing out to my spot, 120 yards or whatever into the middle. Loz was holding my rod for me. I would go out and drop my rod. It was deep as well. Drop the rods, bait up, tiger knots. I think I was using, I don't know, it would have been squid or whatever. Come back, putting a good bit of bait out at a time. And it got so hectic that the rods were going, because I was just taking the lead out with me in a bucket.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take the rod out with me. Dropping the rig, bait. Loz would put it on the alarm, set the alarm. I would row back. By the time I row back, look back, Roz was in. Loz was hit the rod, my rod.
That's
it
crazy,
went mental. But the only problem being, by this point, I'd caught a couple of 40s, a couple of 30s, and a few 20s. I was being a bit unlucky on the size front. I caught like 3 or 4 20s in a row. I was like, I've hit a bad show here. On the Friday, this was now. We're going home on a Saturday. And I was getting a bit relaxed about it all. I was just like, another 20.
Yeah,
still, at least I've caught some. I've had a good week. Lovely time. It's the last night, a few beers. But I kept putting the rod out. Anyway, I got this another run. Managed to get back to the bank this time. Hit it again. That'll be another 20-pounder probably. Like, I was, what's the word? Like, moving it in between all the lines, because I thought, it's a 20-pounder. I was being a bit casual about it, going, under that line.
Yeah.
Lord, pass me a beer. And then it surfaced in front of me. Loz was there with a net and looked at him. I was like, that's not a 20-pounder, is it? And he was like, no, it's not. It was. Matt, it just floated up on the surface, netted it. 69 pounds, 12 or something.
But just came in like a 20. Just pretty
It
nondescript.
was deep, and I was fishing at 100 yards, so they all felt the same.
Yeah.
And I was all like so casual with it. I'm so lucky in looking back now.
No, but you earned that though by the sounds of what you had to go through in terms of moving. And then back.
Not in that respect. In respect that I didn't lose it because I was being so casual with it. Netted it 69-pounder, new PB, European PB, which I hadn't broke since Cavagnac, single scale, which I told you about. And it made for. And that was it. I was made. Didn't even fish the last night. That was my last rod in the water out of 3 because it had been a hectic afternoon.
Yeah.
Caught a 69, 30 kilo in the 30 kilo club. Happy days.
Mic drop. Job done.
Didn't put the rods back out. Yeah. Went round to the lads on the point. Let Matt fish my spot for the last night because he hadn't caught a carp yet, and it was going off. I just went and got pissed basically. We had a barbecue. We all did. We had a nice last night. Didn't put the rods out. Packed up. Went home. I was happy. Ollie also that day caught the 80-pounder.
Yeah. That's pretty infamous, those 2 fish.
Mate.
That and Loz's, I think. Yours, Ollie's mirror, Ollie's common.
We all had a 60-pounder. Well, we all had a big one.
They all stand out. Like,
Loz had a 60.
Ridiculous.
I had a 69. Ollie had a 80. Fucking 2.
Just an absolutely ridiculous thing.
I remember, our XL cradles that the lake had provided. We used to do 3 sizes. We used to do a standard, an XL, and a Globetrotter, I think it was called. They had the Globetrotters, and this thing just wouldn't fit in it. Like, all I remember is I was filming on the camera as well, the camcorder, and you hear it on the video if you watch it back. All I'm going is, look at the size of its fucking head. Look at the size of its head, and even Nash in that everyone was just like.
Yeah, mad.
Because not only is it an 82-pounder, it's so long, isn't it? It's a long fish, but at the same time, it's that. Oh, mate.
I can't imagine, because you know what it's like. You catch when you've caught a few big fish. Those moments you have it on the bank. It doesn't matter how good the photographer is. It doesn't matter how good the crew. It's just not the same, is it? Mm. But to be there and actually see it, I can only imagine, mate. Because it looks spectacular on the video.
And I'd done Ollie stills for him.
Oh God.
And he still brings it up to this day. He was like, I'm so glad you took them photos. That was like, I smashed it. I'd done really well with him. And there's no more pressure.
Oh, mate, that's
taking photos for Ollie Davies. Ollie Davies, trust me.
Is this like completely your own settings, your own camera, or is he giving you some settings?
No, I was very efficient on the camera. I knew what I was doing, but it was his big boy cameras. Yeah. So I was like, oh, God. But I'd done it. So I took all his photos that week because he was just down the bank for me, vice versa.
It's all right. Oh, you'll catch another 82 pounds.
Yeah, please be in focus. Imagine that. And lo and behold, we got back to the UK and he was like, Tom, you smashed it. And I was like, oh, God.
Mega. What was the general vibe like on that trip? Because obviously, like, I've seen it from an edited sort of piece. But in terms of the whole, and there is loads of in-house banter, jokes, goings on. What was the crack that was going on that weekend?
Yeah, it was. We had walkie-talkies. That was the birth of the walkie-talkie on the social, and we've had them ever since. It was just so funny, man. A lot of the footage couldn't be used because you in the background you'd hear like Wilson. Oh God, it was so funny. The walkie-talkies made it, if anything, because like everyone wanted. There was an element of a social, but no one wanted to reel in and come round to have a social because they wanted to catch. I didn't because I was blanking until Wednesday. But yeah, it was good. It was a really good social, and since then it's become a big thing, and we've done another 2 since. So, but that one for me will always be the one.
Oh, it's mega. Didn't Wilson have a shocker in the boat? Is that the same one?
Yeah. Shall I tell you?
You got to, haven't you? Isn't that
absolutely? Yeah. You can hire a boat. Boats are an option. A few of us done the first few days just casting, thinking we were just going to cast rods. Silly idea. Why would you do that when you could get a boat? Like, anyway, Wilson, to get to the lodge where the boats were moored up, you had to come down the middle of the main body of water in between me, Ollie, Matt, and Loz, one side, Nashy and Alan the other side. Come down the middle. Anyway, Wilson had walked round, got his boat, paid his deposit or whatever. We were watching it with the binoculars. It was a great afternoon's entertainment. I remember we could see the lodge. It was just all sitting there in my swim because it was in the middle, like on our chairs, just thinking, oh, look, Wilson's getting his boat. Look, he's just gone to get his boat. Fair play to him. And then you see him push himself off. It was windy. Push himself off. And we just all sat there in silence just watching him. And it soon became very apparent that he didn't have a clue what he was doing in a boat. He had never been in a boat before. And he just...
Not at all,
I don't think. And he had oars either side. So the whole double oaring, you know what I mean? The whole double oaring thing was quite new to him, I think. And before long, the wind had taken... Before he'd even managed to get a stroke together, a couple like some sort of rhythm, he was already drifting full pelt towards Nashy and Alan. And we all just, I remember all looking across, we all looked at each other and was like, this is going to be good, this, isn't it? And we were like, yep, get the beers out. And we just watched him get closer and closer, and you could see it, although he was 200 yards away, you could see it in his face, like, with the binoculars. And we were all going, give me a go on the binoculars. I want to see, give me a go. And you could see that he was just getting more and more panic, more and more frantic, because he knew, not only did he know that he couldn't row, and he was like, he needed to get a grips, but you could tell with his eyes that he was like, oh God, I'm heading to Nashy's spots. And anyway, I'll never forget it. I remember looking across the lake, and you had Mikey all over, on top of Alan's H blocks and Nashy's H blocks going,
oh no,
like a, oh my God. And then Alan and Nashy on the bank behind him going, well, you couldn't hear what they were saying because they were so far away. You could just see them waving their hands in the air going, right. Oh, and we were just pissing ourselves. And Mikey was just, I don't know how he got out of it. It was so funny. It was brilliant. That was without doubt the highlight, I think, yeah.
No tears from him? There might have been. The row of shame, mate, coming back across that. Oh, mate.
It was a good him.
At least he was catching, though, subsequently for the rest of the week, so that's all right.
Well, just he had a flying start and then struggled for the last 3 nights because the fish just moved out.
Yeah.
Then we got our turn. So it was a week or two after, if you like, but yeah. I should have let Dan tell this story whenever you do a podcast with him, because he'll probably tell it better. He's probably saved it for himself, but
okay, man.
I'll have to tell him that. Let him tell it as well.
Mikey, we'll go over that, mate.
Tell it again.
Funny.
You know what Dan's like? He tells a very good story.
He does, mate. From that mega social to the birth of something that is equally mega, and I'm definitely missing, Tom's Viral, later renamed Life at Nash, mate. How did that all start?
That was about the same time, actually. I think
Right.
2013, 14. How did it start? It was Winston who used to work for us at the time.
Yeah.
He was always one step ahead of the game, Winston. Like always with his editing, with his ideas, basically. And he come up with the idea. He was like, I promise you, within the next few years, the next thing that's going to kick off is vlogging, raw. Do you know what I mean? It was being done by some anglers already, but not a lot really. Behind the scenes stuff, that's what they want to see. And we were like, yeah, right, cool. Well, we ain't got nothing to... what have we got to show? And he was like, honestly, you've got so much to show. In particular you, Tom, because at this point I was going out on video shoots with Winston and Ollie. I was in the office. I was doing my own fishing. I was down a church. Like, it was...
Utility man.
Yeah, I was a bit utility man. And he was like, we need to start a Nash raw thing. Because we had all our serious productions, DVDs at the time. But we didn't have anything. He was like, we need something just raw, and you're going to be the man to do it. I was like, why me? And because
why me? Is that what you said?
Yeah, why always me? Why? But no. I was up for it, but I was just generally intrigued. Why me? Like, and he was like, because you're all right. You can do it. You've got a bit of a personality about you, and you get to do all this cool stuff. Just take a camcorder and film it. I was like, I don't know how to use it. I'll be rubbish. He was like, perfect. The rawer the better. So I did. I started taking a camera with me, little camcorders, Sony camcorders, and I'll take one everywhere. Video shoots with Ollie, with Winston, my own personal fishing, just anything. Film a bit around there when we were doing a bit of product testing up the lakes, or anything that was funny that was going on, I'd just film it. A lot of it didn't get used, 90% of it. Some of it couldn't get used.
I bet.
But every time I used to go around to Winston's house and every month and take him all the footage, and he'd look through it and I'd be like, God, what a load of shit. He'd be like, this is gold. And he started putting together, and he was like, right, do a little intro now. All you got to do is do a little intro, put it all together, talk about what's going on in this episode. We're putting it out, Tom's viral. And that's what happened.
What were your highlights from that? What were your standout bits? There's so many funny bits in that.
Mate, there is, isn't there? I remember we done stuff like, when we first getting our first waterproofs, I think this was in Tom's viral, the first ever episode. We were like, we need to test these waterproofs. So how do we test them? I know what, Wilson, you put them on. I'll fucking get a hose and I'll hose you down with them for 10 minutes straight. Freezing cold water in the middle of winter. All right, that's a great idea. Brilliant. We filmed it. Nashy was like, go in my walk-in shower. Do it in there. Really? Go on, test them. Filmed it. It made the cut. What else was good? Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, which wasn't necessarily funny, but people wanted to see it. I've done a lot of behind the scenes of the video shoots that then became part of the DVD. So, what's a good example? A good one was we went to, oh God, I'm not going to remember the name now, Carl and Alex. We went to see Carl and Alex when they just come on board with Nash.
Right.
Begins with a T.
Tanyards. Go on.
Tanyard Fisheries. Wicked complex. Loved it. We went and spent a few days there with Carl and Alex to do a piece with them that would be on the DVD. Probably that same Nash 2015.
Okay.
It was a H-Gun piece. It was H-Gun products. They were our H-Gun ambassadors sort of thing. Yeah, we went and filmed them for a few days. Carl and Alex, when they were just fresh out
I was going to say they're young.
Mate, it was the early days, and look at what they've gone on to achieve now. It was incredible. So I spent a few days there with them doing that at Tanyards. Filmed it all. Basically, I made Carl and Alex what they were, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Got them on my vlog.
If it weren't for Tom's Viral, mate, just look at
history.
everybody who starred on Tom's Viral. Mm-hmm. They've got a career in the industry.
Yeah, I should probably look into this a bit more. I think I've definitely made Carl and Alex what they are.
Definitely.
No, what else was it?
Alfie Russell.
Russell.
You must have filmed him at some point, surely.
I didn't personally, but he featured on a few of them when he would go and fish. Ollie would go out of him. It wasn't just me at this point. Tom's Viral got big that anyone that was going out and doing something, Winston was like, take a camera with you. So a lot of it wasn't me now. It was getting to the point where the other guys were contributing as well. And anyway, this Tom's Viral lasted 3-4 episodes maybe. And I don't know why, it just faded out.
They were quality, mate.
Only temporarily it faded out. Anyway, it might have been because Winston left and bigger productions took priority. I don't know. But it faded out a little bit, and we kept getting messages. I still get them today. Bring back Tom's Viral. Like,
I'm one of them, mate.
yeah,
Constant.
on Instagram. Yeah, you're the worst, actually. And it was when Dan Yeoman started working for us now. A few years down the line. I think sort of we're talking 2017 now, maybe.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Good old Danny
Yeah.
boy. Has he been there? I don't know how long Danny's been.
Dan's been here about 4 years.
So we're in that ballpark, aren't we?
So I'm pretty sure Tom's Viral started in 2013, 14, probably to about 2015, 16, something like that. Had a little gap. And the demand for it was so... there was a lot of demand. We're getting it on our info and Nash Tackle address, all our social media pages. Like, come on, bring it back. Not necessarily me, but just that whole behind the scenes.
It's you mate. You are funny.
It was me, yeah. They wanted
Definitely,
me.
yeah.
They wanted me.
I was actually quite concerned about filming this podcast, mate, because I really struggled to stay any form of professional around you, mate.
Yeah, I've got
Van funny, but mate, it's definitely you. You pinned that together and made it what it was, mate.
So what happened was, we were getting a demand for it, and Dan was like, we need to bring this back, and Alan agreed, everyone agreed, we need to bring something like this about Life at Nash. Tom, you need to present it, but instead of being Tom's Viral, crap name, rubbish name, we're going to call it Life at Nash, because we're going to get everyone else involved. Anything that anyone's doing, we'll try and get a bit of footage. If it doesn't get used, we'll just put it all together. It was like a hub for all this footage that we collate that doesn't get used. So gold, absolute gold content. So we've done Life at Nash, and we based it on the same thing. Me and Dan would go out, film a session. So it was a session piece, but while I was there, I'll talk about all these things that had happened, link it all in, put it all together. And it was, they loved it. People loved it.
Basically, they didn't want the royalty fiasco that would be Tom's Viral, so they sterilised it with Life at Nash.
It was getting to that point where I was going to have to,
Uber fans.
They were going to lose me. I was going solo, mate.
Going big, mate. Going big.
Yeah.
When's it coming back? Got to be soon, surely, mate. Come on.
Yes, it's in the pipeline. You'll know. It's in the diary.
Is it in the diary?
There's so much content. Not a release date, but to get it. Basically, we've got so much content that we've collated over the last couple of years. The demand for Life at Nash, and why not? Let's do it.
It's coming back.
So I don't know to what degree. I don't know if it's going to be the same as last time, but me and Dan are going to get out, I think, film a session piece, hopefully put it all together.
Get me on the guest list, mate.
Yeah, you're in, mate. You've got to do the Ball Maker Challenge, I reckon.
I've got to do some sort of initiation. I've done one yet.
So many people have joined Nash since then. The Ball Maker Challenge, mate, it's going to be...
Well, I remember old Louis Porter had to do a spool up video or something.
Yeah, so
as initiation.
that was... We always used to try and throw a bit of... Yeah, you're right. They done 7 Porter joined at the same time. They done a spool up. Wilson and Loz and Max done the Ball Maker Challenge, I think.
Who won that one?
Don't know who's champion now.
Ooh.
Wilson, I think.
Is it Wilson?
I think Wilson beat Loz and then Max in the next round. So I reckon he's still champion. I'll have to look into that. We're going to have to watch him back.
It's good viewing, mate. And you had a trip to America, the Keys in there, didn't you? On one of them.
Yes. So that was Life at Nash, one of them.
That looked brilliant, mate.
Mate, that's a good point, actually. Well, good.
That
Done your own, mate. That's not even on my list, that.
I know it's not on your list. I'm following your list pretty well.
That was 2016. Alan and Matt and I always talked about it for years. Like, imagine going to the Florida Keys. We'll go there one day and have a little holiday. Anyway, 2016, it happened. Steve O'Rourke, who, for those who don't know, is a good friend of Kev's. He also runs the Essex Manor and a few other fisheries in the area, Dave's Kits. He had a place out there.
Nice.
I should have done my research.
Key West?
No, we went to Key West. He lived in Fort
Lauderdale?
No.
I'm out, mate, of American places around there.
I haven't done my research on this. It's all... Anyway, he had a place out there that he'd go out a lot of the time. We linked it all up. So he was out there. We would end up visiting him at some point. He had a boat. He took us out fishing. shark fishing and group. We wanted to catch. The dream was we wanted to catch a tarpon. You know, like in the American videos. Whoa, shit!
What's that, mate?
You know, like cut that bit. You know, Americans, mate, they're all like, whoa, tarpon jumping out of the water, some like classic rock music in the background on the video, on their boats.
Yeah, this is quality. Tarpon, shark, grouper.
We started in Florida. The whole thing was in Florida. We started in LA. Flew into LA. Miami. It's not LA, is it?
I don't think it is. We're going to look like Muppets here with terrible American geography.
Cut this. We'll start again. We flew out to Miami. Spent a couple of days partying in Miami. Hired a car. Stopped in Isla Mirada, which is a famous fishing town, full of fishing resorts. Went and done some tarpon fishing, shark fishing, caught loads of them.
Did you catch tarpon?
Alan and Matt did. I was third.
It's dark.
And it got too dark and we had to go back. So no, I didn't. It was a group effort. But I did get to go first on the bull shark fishing and I caught the first sharks. Mate, that was an experience. So.
Yeah, but sharks will want to chuck, ain't they? Whereas tarpon...
No, it's hard, mate.
No bites.
Tarpon, but mate, just to experience it was incredible, the tarpon fishing. Then we carried on down the coast and ended up in Key West, which is furthest point south. Proper party town. Mental. Proper, it's out of hand.
Was it?
Yeah, it's good. Very good.
They like a party, though, those boys, don't you? I could imagine lads on tour would have been quite...
Yeah. And then we got a ferry back up the other side to Steve O'Rourke's place, which I still can't remember the name of.
It will come to you. No one's going to look it up, so you're all right.
No one cares today. Spent a few days with him, went out on the boat, shark fishing. We wanted to catch a grouper.
Right. What, a Goliath grouper?
Yeah.
One of those absolute mental.
That was the plan. And he said to us, it's not the right time of year, but they're quite muggy. Like, you just go out, drop... Like, there's a good chance we could catch one here.
Drop a whole 40-pound fish.
Honestly, and I've done a lot of experience, quite a lot in fishing. Done a lot, fished for a lot, and this was the most scared I'd ever been holding a rod waiting for a bite. Because you literally drop your fish over the side. It's shallow. You can see everything. You think like the key, it's all quite shallow and clear, and you can see most of the bottom. So when these like. You've seen it. I've seen the videos, and I watched so many videos on YouTube prior to the trip of these Goliath grouper going bang, smashing live bait. And I was sitting there holding this rod, thinking at any moment, it's not like it just
buckles.
And in the meantime, we keep ourselves entertained with small sharks and whatnot, catching all sorts. And but whoever was on the grouper rod, you could not put it down because if you put the rod down. Game over, put it in. So I remember it was my turn. I was just like, fucking hell, man. That rod goes. And then it did. Hit into it. And anyway, long story short, it turned out to be about £30 instead of £500.
But it went like mad.
Went like mad still, but it could have been it could have been a £500. It could have been a £30. I got a bit unlucky. Alan also hooked one on his scope rod.
Oh my God, on a scope rod?
Yeah. We didn't see it because it snapped him. Didn't snap the rod, snapped him up in
the bottom.
On the bottom. He got snagged. You just need to... We were using heavy gear for him. Not a 6 foot sawn off. Like.
Classic Al.
Classic Alan. But he caught loads of other species on it. And he lost one. Don't know how big it was. Probably it could have been a small one as well, but still pulled. Yeah, and we had an incredible 10 days Florida. Yeah. Wicked. Loved it.
It looked brilliant, mate.
Loved it.
Literally sport fishing capital of the world as well.
Yeah, 10 days wasn't long enough, unfortunately, because we'd done a lot of travelling. But yeah, we went to America, caught loads of crazy species.
And had loads of parties.
That was good, yeah.
And you all made it back, which is
somehow, yeah.
Mega result knowing you boys. So from Tom's viral / life at Nash, what was the sort of fishing from that point? Obviously, you're in Essex, you're established now, you're part of the team at Nash. It's difficult because obviously you're working in fishing, so a lot of your fishing is work fishing, but obviously you've got your own time to go fishing.
Yeah.
Where did you target? Where did you end up? Where did you go?
So, by what we're talking now, 2017, 18, maybe a bit later, I was just floating around, really. Again, I've done I'll tell you what happened. I was fishing club waters again. Silver End had finished by now. Probably got another one, maybe a Chelmsford ticket. Can't remember. I had a little flirt on there for a little bit. But what I really wanted to happen, it did eventually happen, was I finally got my syndicate ticket come up for a syndicate that's just down the road from me. A bit of an old boys club. Nash tried to get on it years and years ago. Like, he's been trying for years. He eventually got a ticket. We all got the connection through one of the guys, Alex Droz. His dad runs the syndicate. Alex now works for us in our sales offices. So, yeah, he started working for us. His dad runs the syndicate. Alan and Nashy featured on one of the said DVDs, actually, 2014 maybe. They done a thing on there about zigging, riser pellet.
Oh, was that on that zig?
Yeah.
Zig water?
Yeah. So that was on one of the waters that this club runs. And it's so ideal. It's down the road. I was there at the weekend, caught fish from there.
Oh, is that the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they got 3 waters, 2 at the time. They've now got a third. Small irrigation. It's all around here, irrigation
Classic
reservoirs,
Essex,
3 or 4 acres, lovely, good fishing, you know. It's not somewhere where, it was not necessarily somewhere where I was going to fish wholeheartedly, but it was a ticket that I knew if I could get on, I'd have it for life, and I will have it for life, unless for whatever reason something happens. It's just perfect. I can be there in 10 minutes, quick overnighters. There's some lovely fish in there, both of the lakes. One's a bit more of a runs water, one's a bit more challenging but bigger fish. And I eventually got that ticket in 2017. I've done loads of work parties with them and nettings. We help them with nettings every year. And I got that ticket. Eventually, game on. I had something to go at again. 2018, I thought, right, I'm going to have a real good go at this. There was a 40-pounder in one of the lakes, and I caught 40-pounders, but I hadn't caught a big one for a while, a UK big one. I hadn't caught a big one for a while. So I thought, yeah, I'll have a go. Purposely didn't fish it all summer. Fished it a bit in the spring, caught a few. Then they spawned, and it was like a borderline 40. So I purposely didn't fish this particular venue until September because I didn't want to catch them all. So I fished the other lake during the summer, battered them, floater fishing, zigging. Loved it. Absolutely battered them. Caught a few, to sort of 30 pounds. Come to September, right, it's time, game on.
Back up in weight.
Yeah. I've been visiting the lake still, trying to find a few spots. It's shallow reservoir, irrigation reservoir, not very big. So if there's 2 people on there, you turn up and you'll be like, oh, gutted. And it's quite a busy syndicate, so getting it to yourself or getting it with one other person was quite rare. But chance you had to take. If I turned up there was people there, I'd either go to the other lake or go home.
Okay.
It's only 10 minutes up the road. So, right, start the campaign, September. In an ideal world, I'll catch it in October, November, end the year on a high. Brilliant. Turned up for my first night there. Got there really late, so I had to stay working. Flinged out a couple of rods in the middle. Try and stick a few boilies. Caught it.
No way. First bite?
41 pounds.
First bite, first session back?
I'd caught a few in the spring, and I'd caught a few the previous seasons, but I hadn't put an effort into this lake. I just sort of fished it on and off. I'd fished the other one more, floater fishing.
Yeah.
Caught it at 41 pounds.
What a result that is,
a nice old Essex carp that's off the beaten track.
What would you have on? A little like a pop-up or something over the top of a spreader boilie?
Yeah.
Pretty nondescript.
It would have been, what was I fishing at the time? Might have been the start of the whole Ronnie phase.
Right.
Might have been hinge stiff rig, probably, if not. Catapult a few boilies. I wish that was a good story to tell you, but it's not. I caught it.
You play them all down, mate. That's what it is. You play them all down, Tommy. I know you, mate. That is good angling, and no doubt if you went into the details, it'd be even better angling. But in terms of, if we take away the Church Lake captures that we had, UK PBs at the time, would that be one of your only 40? Have you had a couple of 40s?
No. I had a few previous, but not it was my first for a while.
Okay.
I'd done, what had I had? Yeah, I had a couple of good ones prior to, other than Church Lake, but I'd worked my way up to 2018, and I didn't really do a lot of personal, because this whole Life and Nash thing and Tom's Viral, coupled with the socials and any other filming projects, personal fishing was not really top of the list, you know?
Yeah, it's time.
So it comes to that September 2018, I thought I'm going to have a go for this one, get a little campaign going, probably fish all autumn, maybe do a bit over the winter, and then catch it in the spring maybe when it's massive. Nah, I just caught it first night. I was like, oh, okay. Back to the
Come on.
What next? Yeah, that was probably me done for that year. I carried on fishing there, don't get me wrong, I still fish there today. There's loads in there that I haven't caught.
But that's the fish, isn't it?
The big one I'd caught, yeah. So, yeah, what happened then? I probably didn't really fish over the winter. 2019.
The one thing you have done, and this is what I wanted to touch on as well, is with your job, which one element of it before, dare I say it, COVID and lockdown and everything else, was shows, arranging all the shows and doing all that. You have been, and the previous podcast that you filmed with Dan and Alfie covers a bit of it, you've been abroad a fair bit.
Yeah.
And in amongst that work, you've managed to fit in fishing.
Yeah.
And you've caught and had some mega results.
Yeah.
For you, in that time, not going over Old Grand, because these guys can watch it on season 1, some of the funny stories, but in terms of captures, funny incidents, and anything that sticks in your memory, what are the fondest in terms of sort of your European, I'm going to call it escapades, for want of a better term?
Yes, with the event side of things, December until, well, before that, because the planning, November until March, my fishing's out the window, basically, personally. I'm constantly travelling here, there and everywhere, whether it be a UK show or somewhere across Europe, more often than not. But like, it's winter anyway, you know, fishing's crap. So in the winter, carp fishing's not great. So it's fun. So yeah, my that part of my year, every year, apart from this year, has been spent doing that, really. So no fishing, but plenty of travelling. And getting into a spot of trouble here and there.
Go on, mate. You're not liable now. Surely you're fine. It's done.
Where do I start? Okay, I'll give you one. So prior to me being really organised and now having our shows sent out, palleted up and sent out, our show stand, palleted up and sent out on a big lorry, we used to sort of load our crafter vans here, our big crafters, load them, drive it all out there. Silly looking back, but that's what we used to do. A lot of these times, these vans were a bit overweight, you could say. But for somehow, we got away with it a lot of the time. We didn't know. They might not have been overweight, but they might have been.
Don't go back on it now,
They
mate.
might have been. We've got health and safety now. I've got to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Mel, she won't watch this. Anyway, yeah, at the time, we would never do that now. It has to be all done properly. But at the time, this one occasion, we were going out to Montluçon show in France. One hell of a drive. Like, it's like a 7-8 hour off once you get into France. It's right down there. I was going out in one van. I think Max was following the next day because he had a meeting or something with someone else in the second van. I was with Andy Chambers, consultant. He always used to do the Montluçon show with us because he's well known in France. Obviously, he spends a lot of time there. He's a big deal. He come in the van with me, no problem. I loaded all the van up. We set off, no problem. Got into France, just got into Calais. And I'd done this drive so much, you know, the standard Eurotunnel ferry across, blah, blah, blah. Where we going? Holland, Italy, Austria. France we're going to, same motorways, tunnel vision, let's go. Anyway, got to a toll and there were police there, just like pulling random people over. I thought, no worries, I'm not doing anything wrong at all. Hello, you all right? Da-da-da. And they asked for our licence, what we're doing, like, showed them we were Nash, we were going to a show and that. I could look him, while he was talking to me, I obviously wasn't listening. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He was checking our passports in the car or whatever. I looked and there was other police officers behind the van, like, and I could see him pointing at the back of the van, like, and at the tyres and that. I was like, what are they up to? Like, looking in my wing mirrors. Anyway, they come in. He was like, "Your van looks very very heavy, overweight." And I was like, "Oh shit."
Great.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, he was like, "Come with us. We're going to tow you off the motorway. Not tow you, escort you off the motorway to a toll bridge, weigh bridge thing they have.
Okay.
We're going to weigh the van." Oh, fucking hell. No. This isn't going to go well. I knew it was heavy, but I didn't know. It could have been... Anyway, he took this thing, weighed us. "You're overweight." Okay.
What do you do?
Okay, what do we do from here? He could speak English, but not much. I rang the offices. I rang Sarah or Lee or someone back in the office. I was like, "I've not... Like, they say I'm overweight. They want to know some official documents about what we're doing and that." And I had these show forms and whatnot, but we were just in our work vans. I had no sort of proof that I was...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I was insured, of course we were, some work experience, but I had no real proof to say this was the thing. And they were like, "Oh, we can email you something across." They emailed me something across, showed it on my phone. They were like, "Yeah, whatever." Anyway, they were like, "This is bad. You cannot continue your journey." I was like, "Oh, fuck, we're going to be late for the show. Delay setup, delay the show. This isn't good." Then they said, "You must pay. You must pay." And I was like, "Oh, God, here we go." "We will take you to..." And I thought this was the point I started, like, in my head, I started thinking, something's not right here. And they were like, "We'll take you to the cash point, to the supermarché."
What?
I was like, "What the hell is going on here? You can pay it, you can get us cash." I was like, "Hang about, something's not right here."
Yeah, this ain't good.
Don't trust the French at the best of times, let alone now. Do you know what I mean? So they escorted us, flashing lights, flashing lights. We were following them in the van. Like, but my first question was, okay, we're overweight. I shouldn't be driving this van. So do we come in your car to the supermarché? They were like, "Nah, follow us." I was like, "Right, so it's okay to..."
I'm driving my van.
"I'm driving my van again that you're about to fine me for, but it's okay because..." Whatever. Followed them, got to the supermarket. They escorted me, and two police, Andy waited in a van. And you know these big supermarchés, you walk in and they're not just a standard supermarket, they're massive, isn't they, these French ones, and there's all this other stuff going on in there. And there was so many people there, and I was with two police officers, and they were escorting me to a cash point, and everyone was looking at me, and I was just like, "Oh, fucking hell." And I was like, "How much?" They were like, €280. So a bit random, but fair enough. Got it out. Couldn't use the work card because we're not allowed to get cash out on the work card, so I had to pay it myself. Whatever.
Brilliant.
Paid in the money. Second I give him the cash, sort of everything sort of changed a little bit. The whole atmosphere, mood changed a little bit. Got back to the van, and they were like, "Right, how are you going to resolve this issue?" And I was like, "Okay, I've called the office. Max is going to drive out in the second van, take some of the weight off my van. We'll carry on our journey." Only problem was it was like 6 PM. Max weren't getting there till tomorrow morning.
Not ideal.
I explained this to him. They say, "Right, you need to get a hotel." Okay. "Do you know anywhere?" They were like, "Nah." Didn't want to be very helpful. Googled it, found a hotel I was like, "I've got a hotel, but look, it's 20 minutes away. It's the closest hotel, 15 minutes away. How am I going to get there?" They were like, "No, just drive there." I was like, "What, in my overweighted van that I've just been fined for and I've just give you cash for?" I was like, "Something's not right here." And yeah, they were like, "Okay, but you must..." Sorry, I missed a bit. So they left us in the supermarché car park, and they were like, "When you've made a decision, call me. Give me his mobile number."
What people did you bump into here for?
Exactly. Looking back now. Anyway, they left us in the supermarché with my van still, that was still overweighted, with a ticket that they'd wrote out. Could have said anything on it, I don't know. Max, they were like, "When you found a solution, call me." I'd sorted it with Max. He was going to come out. So I then called him back and explained the situation to him. "We've got another driver coming out in another van. He can't get it till tomorrow morning. I'm going to have to get a hotel." And he was like, "Wee, no problem. No problem."
That's good. Good accent.
Yeah. And the whole time I was speaking to him, telling him this, I could hear it was like he was in a pub. Do you know that? Do you know that? You know what it's like, a bar atmosphere. I could hear people like clatters in the background of glasses and people like talking in the background. I was like, he's in a fucking pub, Andy. No doubt about it. He is in a pub. I know my pub sound. He is in a pub. Like, And anyway, I called him, explained it. He was like, no problem, go get a hotel. I was like, but it's 20 minutes away. How am I going to get there? He was like, oh, you can drive. I was like, what, in my overweighted van? He was like, yeah, no problem.
Did they have your passports? Or did you have your passport?
They took it temporarily. They didn't take it permanently, no.
You could have just drove off then.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, we debated this for a long time, but then we thought, what if they've got our tracking on, like, reg? I'll get to in the next toll. We get pulled again, and then I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Like,
sensible.
So I got to, drove to the hotel. Never heard from him again. Max come the next day. We offloaded the van, carried on our journey.
That is basically...
Looking back now, what I think happened was they wrote me out a shitty fake ticket. Thought they saw us coming a mile off.
Yeah. Made €280.
Made €280, split it, went to the pub, got pissed.
But you made it...
We got to Montluçon, albeit a day late. So when we'd normally set up to have 2 days setting up a massive stand, we only had one. So that was a massive rush, but we got there in the end.
He didn't have to spend the night in a prison cell.
No.
But he did lose €280.
Paid him off.
That is classic. What about fishing captures? Anything significant that really stands out over? Because obviously, I mean, it's normally quick overnighters or in between setup or en route. But
yeah, and even at that time, it shows all in the winter. So
yeah,
we travelled all that way and then set up a show stand all day. Last thing I want to do is then go fishing. Only Alan would do that. I want a hotel and a nice bit of steak and a beer and a bed, you know. So yeah, I didn't really do fishing then. However, opportunity-wise in Europe, there has been a few through contacts we know. One of which was going to Sweden in 2019, May 2019 now. And Gary Benny, who's a friend of ours, or Mikey speaks to him, liaises with him, does a bit of work together, and he's an English guy who now lives in Sweden and has done for several years. Swedish wife, he's been out there years. Anyway, when he comes over to the UK, he comes and does a little session on the church. We went down one night, he was fishing down there, had a barbecue. He was like, guys, if you ever want to come to Sweden carp fishing, I swear to God, just come. I've got all the gear. Just get a flight, cheap flight. You'll be here in 2 hours. I'll take you to some Swedish lakes. There's so many carp in Sweden. No one fishes them. All right, what? Like, you know what I mean? We get so many offers, and the first time round, it was one of them. I was just like, oh, mate, yeah, maybe in the future, yeah. Then he showed us some photos of the fish, and he was like, look at these. These are in my syndicate, and these are in this park lake. And we were like, fuck yeah, no. Honestly, the most incredible carp you've ever seen in your life. Black, long, lean, scaly, incredible. Like, they're all linears and they're all fully scaled fish in Sweden. Like, it's incredible. All of a sudden, me and Mikey were like, right, when can we do it? Let's book a flight. Let's come now. He was like, right, okay, well, May's a good time. May is there like March, if you like, here.
Okay. Because
the carp are under ice for 5 months of the year or whatever. May, they're just sort of waking up and it's spring-like. And so we went out in May, 3-night session. He provided all the gear. All we done was send out a bit of bait. And he had several options for us. He was like, we could go here and catch these smaller ones, or we could go here and sit it out for a big scaly one. And we ended up deciding on this lake, which he referred to as a park lake. Now, it was a Swedish park lake, but it couldn't have been any further from the truth. Like, it was the most incredible, picturesque pineland forest with this lovely lake in the middle of it all. And he calls it a park lake because there's a little housing estate at one end of it where a few lovely little houses, and people walk around there, they walk their dogs, they jog, they swim. Incredible. It couldn't have been more picturesque.
It's no urban banks.
It's no shitty park lake in London, like, you know, put it that way. And that suited me. I was fine with that because I'm not into all that, but it was beautiful. We went there and he was like, prior to this, he was emailing us over photos. He was like, yeah, these are some of the named fish in this lake. He's like, it's not easy, but these, if you catch one of these, you're like, job done. And they're known fish. They're famous. It's like going to Yateley Car Park Lake in Sweden. Do you know what I mean? They're famous fish that have been alive for a long time. Some of them had lived in other lakes in previous, and they've all ended up in this park lake for one reason or another.
Swedish history carp.
Yeah, and it was as well. And I didn't appreciate it much at the time, but I do now, looking back after what happened over the session. And he was like, if you can just catch my dream, this is Gary saying this, if you boys can catch one each, job done. Like, I'd be so happy, you'd be happy, because I promise you it'll be a named, beautiful, incredible carp. Anyway, we turn up to this Park Lake. Beautiful, like blown away. Got there the first evening. He was like, we'll just put rods out here. Mikey fished this sort of point area with a big wooden jetty going out onto it. And he was like, this is a good spot, but the problem is you get all the public. There was a couple of benches.
Right.
And the public come here. But it's not as if you like getting a couple of crackheads come in and sit on the bench all night drinking super tenants, you know. It was like a family. Not like you were there. It would be like a family would come and have a little barbecue there and go for a swim in the lake. Fine, not a problem. Mikey decided to fish there. I went further down the bank to the right in a bit more of it's a bit more wild, if you know what I mean. There were swims there, sort of holes, gaps in the reed, but it was in the middle of this forest. And yeah, the first rule he said to us when we got there, he was like, watch out for the snakes.
The snakes?
I was like, whatever, mate. Yeah, I'm not scared of a few snakes. Mate, they were everywhere.
Are you joking?
Everywhere. So much so. And these were like adders. Like,
oh, that's not the one.
Nah, it's not the one.
It's been freezing. How can they be knocking about?
Nah, but it wasn't, because he explained to us later that they were just waking up from their winter slumber, whatever they do. And any bit of sun, it was warm, it was really nice. Some days were a little bit chilly, not too bad. And the days were lovely and sunny. He was like, the second the sun comes out, these snakes will just appear from anywhere and they will just be curled up on the paths or in the leaves, sunning themselves, you know? Brilliant. Cheers, Gary. I wish you hadn't told me, to be honest. So Wilson shit himself and would fish the point because he didn't want to fish these more wild swims in the woods. Yeah. But one of these swims, he was like, so the big ones like it from here. One of the big known fish comes from this margin. So someone should fish there. Mikey was well ahead of me, like getting set up. He had already cemented his point swim. Oh, I'll get down there then, it looks like. Went down there, set up my brolly, set up the gear and everything, and so sort of back, and it was a reed. There was a little gap in the reeds with a small wooden jetty that had been there years and years. He was like, you just have to fish in the edge here, left, right. There was a little bay to my left where they liked coming in and out, and there was just a long line of reeds down to my right. Sweet, no problem. Sounds pretty easy. Plop, plop, maybe one out in the middle. Yeah, the snakes. At first, it was like we'd done a whole lap of the lake, and if you go off the main path, you're in like to look at the actual swims. It was you had to have a stick with you, and you spook in front of you before you walked. So it was quite, yeah.
You're joking?
Nah.
I didn't realise Sweden was like some...
There's a lot of snakes, man.
Mad.
Anyway, they weren't really a problem in the end. Once you got round it and you thought... It's not as if they were all just... There was hundreds of them, but there was... You would see them. They were there. And yeah, anyway, the swim that I fished turned out it weren't too bad. I think I saw a couple maybe sunning themselves every now and again. But the second you spook them, they're gone. It's not as if they're waiting to fucking bite you in the leg or anything like that. And yeah, on the first evening, we flicked a few rods out. Mikey was fishing his point swim, and we were having a barbecue. He was like, we'll put the rods out tomorrow. We're losing the light. Lo and behold, we just got a barbecue on Mikey's rod, just pissed off. Woo! Down to his left, and we're like, fucking hell. Like, he's got one. Anyway, I've got all this on film. We could show it if you want to show it. I filmed it all because I just bought a Canon 6D. I just upgraded my camera, and I thought it was a bit of a big shot. We'll film all this for Life at Nash. There hasn't been another Life at Nash since, so we've still got all the footage. So yeah, if you want it, we've got it. I've got the camera, filmed Mikey playing it, landed it. Whoa, we've caught one. They were buzzing. And he caught a fish called Mad Max, a fish that we'd literally been talking about 20 minutes before. Whilst having a barbecue, Gary's like, it's a fish called Mad Max. It's known for fighting really hard, hence the name. Mikey's playing this fish, and it's pissing off all these runs, and Gary's gone, it's Mad Max. All right, Gary. Lo and behold, it's Mad Max, £25, the most incredible, big, scaly, linear thing. Oh. Mikey was buzzing. He'd been there 2 hours, and he had caught his Swedish carp. Done. No worries. Anything else he caught would be a bonus. I think he went on to catch another common. He blanked for a couple of nights and then caught another common on the last morning, maybe like a 19-pounder or something. Common in that lake. He was like, Gary's like, I've never seen this. Like, he was, he was even going, should we put it back? Like, common in this lake? Oh. Like, he was
riff raff. Get it out.
Get it out. It's not a scaly, perfect linear.
Like, he travels well, doesn't he? Whenever he goes away, he seems
done
to do
well.
all right, doesn't he?
And anyway, got like, we done 2 nights, 1 night to go. Gary put it on me and basically said, Tom, you ain't caught one. Would you rather go to another lake that's 2 hours away, 3 hours away, bit of a drive? There's lovely scaly carp in there. They're not quite as cool as these ones, not as much history, but you'll catch one. There's loads of them. Or do you want to hack it out here and hope that you catch one? I was like, oh, God, it's all down to me. Mikey was dumb. He was just trying to avoid the snakes. Like, and, I was like, no, I've fished quite well. I've just been unlucky. I've got the spots were baited. So I just thought, you know what? Let's just persist.
Had you seen them in that area or not, mate?
Nothing.
No.
Not as weird. It's one of them lakes. You don't see them.
Right, okay.
It was just you couldn't really see a lot from my swim. The reeds were so high.
Right.
And I spent a lot of the time down them with them guys on the point. I don't think we saw a fish show. I don't think we saw a fish show. I just put my faith purely in Gary, saying he was like, this bay and this margin. In fact, what happened was because I hadn't caught, I went down the other end of the lake for a day on my own. And Gary told me about another spot. There was a couple of other guys fishing. It's funny. Another English guy turned up who now lives in Sweden. And he was with another guy who was from fucking Chelmsford. I was like, all right, mate, thinking they were Swedish because I had gone down to fish on my own. So I bumped into him. I was like, hello, hi, hello. And they were like, all right, buff. We're in a park lake in Sweden, and his mate had come and visited him from Chelmsford, turns out. I was like, fuck,
that is
bloody
weird.
hell, mate. And so all of a sudden, there was 5 of us on this Swedish carp lake that doesn't get fished. All of us English.
All of you from within about 5 miles of each other.
Mental, yeah. Anyway, diverse. They were fishing as well, opposite. And I went down the other end and fished for the day, trying to catch one. Gary told me a spot. Sat in the reeds all day. No bed shell or anything, so I was in prime snake biting territory. Got away with it. Didn't catch one. So now I was on my last night. It was coming into the last night, and I was like, oh, God. Put the rods out. Anyway, I've had a lovely time, whatever. At 5 o'clock next morning, just on first light, get a funny take. Like a pull round, sling back, indicators on the deck. I've had a tench, and I'd already caught a tench, by the way. So I hadn't blanked, I'd caught a tench. There was loads of tench in there. I think Mikey had a couple.
You'd count that as a blank?
No, of course I wouldn't, but it was a Swedish tench. It was my first
Swedish tench,
never caught one before. But yeah, I was still pissed, obviously. But had a bite. I was like, oh, here we go, another tench. Hit down to it, and I was like, oh. Bang. Connected, obviously come towards me, but I was only fishing here, so it had obviously swam out and then swam back into the margin or something like that. And I was like, bang, it's a carp. Come up on the surface, blob, 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 netted it. I was like, it was just getting light, so I couldn't really see, didn't really have my head torch, left it in my bed chair, yeah, but just about make out a fish. I was like, that's a big tench in the silhouette. Got it in the net. Looked in it, it was a scaly. I was like, ooh, I've caught one. Buzzing. Left it in the net, wedged the net in, waited 20 minutes till it got light, had a cup of tea. Went and had another look at it, like expecting, I don't know, £20 or something. And I looked at it and I thought, ooh.
You're all right.
You're all right. You know what? That's a good one. It was long, very long. And it was just scaly, but instead of it being like golden, it was just purple. Veiny and purple and red. There was red. Oh, mate, it was incredible. And it still weren't light yet, so I couldn't really tell. So I was like, whoa. I'm going to go get Gary. Woke him up. He was like, oh, unlucky, mate. Come back in the thing. And I was like, I've bloody got one, mate. And he was buzzing. He honestly, he's such a lovely bloke. Like, he was like, yes. And I was like, and previously we've been talking about other named fish. There's a fish they call it musa, whatever. And it turns out it's a very, very famous carp in Sweden. It had been in a couple of lakes previous, ended up in this lake, got history going back 40 years, 50 years, I don't know. Wow. It was a very, very old carp. and it was a well-known carp in this lake, like King of the Lake, or there was two. I can't remember the name of the other one. There was Musa and this other one, another one, and then all these 20s that also had names. And I was like, the night before he had said to me, this Musa, man, it's long. He showed me photos of it on his phone. And he was like, it's long and it's just purple and red and veiny. And then as I was looking into this net, I went to his swim and he was like, so what does it look like? I was like, it's scaly and it's red and it's purple and it's veiny. And then it just clicked. I was explaining it to him and it clicked and he just looked at me. I was like, nah, don't be silly. It's not that big. He come over, I looked in the net. He was like, it's Musa. It's Musa.
Boy.
I was like, yeah, it's not, mate. Because it had been £40 in the past, this fish.
Wow.
But they lose so much. Because they're under ice, and he later explained this to me, that they lose, they're up and down, fluctuate a lot in weight because the climate they live in. And it was old as the hills, and it was never going to be £40 again. And I was like, it doesn't look massive at all. He's like, I think that's Musa. We got it out. Lo and behold, got it on the mat. And the second, if you put this mobile phone footage in, it's worth it, I think. The second we got it on the mat, and Mikey was filming, and I just had I was on my knees with my head in my hands, saying nothing. And he was like, Dan, what do you think of this? I'm going to put it in the WhatsApp group. Dan, look at this. And the fish is just there. And it is just, mate, it's an incredible carp. Incredible. You'll see it. We'll put the photos up. And the whole time I was just speechless. I was just like, and he was like, it's Musa. It's the best one in the lake, mate. And it weighed 30 pounds or something, 31 pounds. I can't remember. I was not bothered in the slightest. And I remember holding it up, and it was just, I felt like it was going to fall apart. Like, it was so old, and yeah, it was incredible moment. It just ended the trip perfectly. It'd been a brilliant trip. Mikey had caught one. We had lovely socials, met some cool people. A lot of the locals come down, had barbecues. Lovely country, man. I'd live there if everyone say, where would you like to live? I'd like to live in Sweden now.
Wow.
Incredible. All the people just so nice. Most of them spoke English. Like, just lovely people, lovely place.
I'd move to Sweden if I catch one of them every day. Though.
And the fishing's incredible. And yeah, we put it back. It was just, had some breakfast. I was just buzzing my absolute tits off. Honestly, I don't think I've had a buzz like that. For a while. And we got on a plane, said our goodbyes, flew back to England.
Job done.
Just the most incredible 3-day session. Yeah, I definitely want to go back. But if I don't,
that's the one, isn't it?
The memories are incredible. Yeah, and we got it all on film. Got some good photos.
Yeah, some work, that
mate. It'll definitely, it's up there. For the venue and the look of the carp and the story behind it. Yeah, it's probably my
good skills, mate. I've seen it. It's an incredible fish, and the story behind it's even better with
man.
Sort of last night knock-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Around this same sort of time, we're 2019.
Yes,
it's fair to say that your sort of domestic angling now, with the time that you do have, you've now centred on the Bluebells complex a bit, haven't you?
Mm.
So how did you go from Essex club waters to sort of singling out, it was fair to say, your angling time predominantly on Bluebells? How did that come about?
I know it come about. Did I ever think it would come about?
Yeah.
Not in a million years. If you would have said to me in 2018, beginning of 2019, you're going to go and fish the busiest data kit complex, or one of the busiest data kit complexes in the country, you're going to go and fish there, film there, fall in love with the place, and end up spending the next 2 years of your life there. No chance, mate. Not a chance in hell. I've never fished linear. I've been there for shop days and open days, and we've done little casting demos now, but I've never gone there personal fishing. No, nothing against it. It's just never been a bit of me.
Yeah.
And I fished Essex and club waters and whatnot, and it never crossed my mind to go and fish Bluebell. Anyway, 2019, April, we were planned a week session there to film a UK social video. I'll tell a lie, I've been there once before when we went to film Float of Ota in 2017, I believe. We went there for an afternoon. I only ended up fishing on Bluebell, the easiest lake on the complex. Caught a few doubles. We filmed it, floater fishing. Alan went on a mission on San Martin. Me and Ollie were on Bluebell. Mikey was somewhere on one of the lakes, and we filmed it, and it made our part of our Floater video. Hadn't been back since, never intended to. We went there for 2019 for a week's fishing to film a social. The plan being we'd all split up on all the different lakes, do different styles of fishing, make a lovely video out of it. I was dreading it. Alan was absolutely dreading it. Everyone was, to be honest with you.
Is that just because of the busy nature of it?
Just because nothing against it. It was just busy. We knew it was going to be incredibly busy, and it was we didn't know what to expect. We were going into a filming session. There was a lot of pressure on us. Paid a lot of money to fish it for a week to 8 anglers or whatever there was of us, 6, 7. Yeah, a lot of pressure. I'd been told I had to fish Kingy. All I knew at the time was Kingy and Swan were the harder lakes with bigger fish in it, but less fish. Mallard was sort of, you could catch a few. Yeah. San Martin, didn't really know anything about it. Me and Mikey were going to fish Kingfisher. Vusen was over.
Oh, Vusen was
over.
Yeah,
Vusen and Tilo were going to be fish Swan. Lewis Porter was working for us at the time. Him and Alfie were going to fish Mallard, team up and try and get a big hit on Mallard. Alan and Ollie, do your thing. Go and stalk them out the edge. Do whatever you want on any of the lakes. So that panned out. Luckily, Lee Birch, the king of Kingy, he's been fishing Bluebell for 20 years or whatever. He's obviously a consultant for us.
Good contact to have if you're going on Kingy, mate.
The best contact you could have possibly had. And by God, I exhausted him for all his everything. And he was there. He was going to be there that week. Perfect. We turned up, got round to Kingy. We were on the gate first before anyone else. We stayed in the campsite down the road the night before. Had a little social. Got there on the gate. There was a few other cars there. And I remember at the time thinking, fucking hell, there's other cars here already, and we're here an hour before the gate opens. Now I'm just like, if there was only 3 cars there, I'm like, wait, what's up? Got on Kingy. Birchie was like, these are the few swims that are free, or he's leaving today. He'd already done his homework for us, so I knew what was going on, which was a great help. Birchie was waiting to go into another swim that was becoming free, and he was in the Piz swim. Yeah. He was like, to be honest, Tom, you should come in here. I'm moving out. I'm going to go out, fish up there, 2 up from where this swim was. You should come in here because it's one of the long chuck swims. Basically, you'll know, there's, for those who don't know, there's 4 swims on one bank, 3 on the other, where you're allowed to fish in 75 yards into the middle. The other 2 banks are restricted to 40, 45, 50 yards, whatever. Good rule. It's a very good rule. Stops most people crossing each other. So these main swims are obviously they're the popular ones because they fish into the main middle of the lake. He was like, look, this is what the fish do. They're at the moment they're here. He knows it like the back of his hand. The fish spend their time here at the moment. They're going to come past you in the mid-morning. Then they're going to go into the middle. Then they spend their days around there. Blah blah blah. You're in a good position here if you come in here. I'm not going to turn that down. I went in after Birchie. I don't know how much I'm going to give away because this social was meant to be released 2 years ago. It got put on the back burner because we had other bigger productions. Then we were like, shall we release it? Shall we not? Anyway, we're releasing it in the coming months as a little sort of throwback social. Why not? It's all there. It's filmed it. It's edited. So I don't know what I'm allowed to say here, but
I reckon keep the details.
Long story short, I fished Kingfisher for 6 nights. So did Wilson. It was by no means easy. I had a bit of a result. Wilson struggled, but come good in the end. Alfie and everyone else done their thing. It was by no means easy. And I left there on that Saturday after doing 6 nights angling, and I didn't want to leave.
Really?
I didn't want to leave. I was like, what is wrong with me?
Was that the fishing? Was that the atmosphere? Was that the people coming to see you? What was it? It's what gets me now, and is the reason why I've gone back there and since become a member and spent every possible spare minute there. It's just Kingy fever. They call it. They joke about it. Kingy fever. I was like, whatever, lads. Like when they first started saying it when we were there, I was like,
But, mate, it's got me.
Mega fish, mega lake.
I don't know what it is. It's the atmosphere, and you would think not when there's all these people coming and going. There's never a swim free. You have to. It's a day ticket, obviously. Although there's members as well, it's a day ticket, and you think it would be a hostile environment where everyone's in it for themselves. Going, do you know what I mean? Everyone wants their chance, and they're very selfish and a bit hostile. But it couldn't have been further from the truth. And the buzz around the place, whenever you've got rods out there and you're up at 4 a.m. If you're up at 4:30 a.m, you're too late. Everyone, Birchie and that, are already up waiting because they know what's coming. That morning period on Kingy is, you'll know, they like, if they're on a showing day.
Smagger in it.
My Lord, I've never seen anything like it where they show and they proper show.
Oh, mate.
When they're on a showing day, they show. And next morning, you won't see one. Yeah. But if it's a showing day, my God, it's a spectacular
It's like SeaWorld, isn't it?
Oh, God. It don't mean anything because they're all over you and you don't get a bite half of the time. But the buzz that you get from that when you're seeing these big fish, and they're all just big, most of them. So many big ones in there, and they're lookers, and they've all got names and they're characters. And it's by no means, it is a very, very tricky lake. Any carp you catch out of there, you very rarely fluke one out of there. Everyone is hard earned, and I've not had that buzz, and this is the reason I'm still there and become addicted with it. When you get a bite on there, I've not had that buzz since, I don't know, a long time. Well, I've got that.
Yeah,
mate, I've got a fish on here because like I say, everyone is hard earned.
They're amazing fish, mate, aren't they?
They're incredible fish. The looks about them, and they get away with it. The amount of lines that are constantly in that lake and the amount of fish that get caught, something's not right. I still haven't worked it out, and that's why I still love it so much, because it's like a game of chess. Every swim on that lake, every swim on Kingy, and I fish the other lakes as well, but not as much. Kingy is firmly my number one choice at the moment. That'll all change. But every swim on that lake, you get an opportunity at some point in if the fish are doing their normal thing, sometimes they're a bit off, but if the fish are doing their normal routine and their normal thing, every swim on that lake, even the shitty ones in the corner that people tend to avoid, you get a chance within a 24-hour period, and it's down to you to take it. So it's like a game of, do you know what I mean? It's like
I know exactly what you mean, mate.
It's up to you to, and everyone's like, oh, all you can do there is cast out and fish 3 rods on a spot. Like, nah, there's so much. Yes, you're restricted to your bit of water, your swim, but the whole idea is that you can do, trying to get that bite, doing things a little bit different or working that extra bit harder. And when it does pay off, it's incredible. You know more than you probably know more than me about the place.
It is a buzz. They're top lads on there as well, aren't they? Gary Dennis, the likes of, that have been on there for years. Yeah. There's so many anglers that have caught a lot of the fish in there, yet they're still on there because it is just.
And I couldn't get my head around it at first. Now I fully understand. Yeah. But like Gary Dennis fished there 20 years. Birchie's been and gone and come back, and there's a few of them. And I got to know these people, and I was saying earlier about this hostile environment. When I first went there, I was like, This is, it wasn't. It's almost like even the day ticket anglers. A lot of the day ticket anglers, you get the odd one that hasn't been there before, or quite a few actually. But a lot of them try Kingy, it's weedy, it's jinkly, it's fucking hard basically, and then they might go and have a go on another one of the lakes. No disrespect to them, but it's not for them. So even the day ticket anglers that aren't members, a lot of them come back and you get to know them a little bit, and it's almost like a syndicate feel, but it's a day,
Yeah.
And I've made some incredible friends over the last 2 years there.
And you've had some good captures, mate.
I have had some good captures. And like I say, every one of them, I maybe fluke 1 or 2, but every one of them, it's happened for a reason.
What's the one that sticks out, or are they all just equally as special?
So going back to that week session we done for the filming, I had a bit of a result there. I won't talk too much about it.
Wait for the
video. May, I think.
Hopefully.
It was bloody hard. Didn't catch a lot, but I had a bit of a result. Caught a big one. I can say that. Caught a good one. Anyway, we left that week, and I was like, I need to come back here. I need to come back here. Went back. I was back within 2 weeks on my own. And now I was like, right, I had no Birchie there. He might have been there, I don't know. I was on my own now. Like, I need to up my game here. I'd never fished the water up until now with so many good anglers on, big names, good anglers on a prolific venue where everyone knows everything that everyone's doing. You can't do anything. Do you know what I mean? You're always in the spotlight on there, even more so when they know you fish for a company.
The stakes are pretty high.
Yeah, the stakes are pretty high. So you've got to be on it. Yes, you have a social and have a lovely time, but you have to be on it constantly. And you are. So yeah, sorry. I carried on fishing. I come for another session in April or May. It might have been now prior to spawning. Done 2 or 3 sessions afterwards. Caught a couple of 30s, I believe. I was just learning the lake. Caught one out of the edge. On the lock bank, down one of the snags. Caught one out the edge. Caught a couple out on the main spots in the middle. Couple of 30-pounders. Nice. Happy days.
Very nice.
They spawned. I didn't go back all year. Don't know why. I don't know. It would have been work commitments or whatever. Had another couple of goes in the autumn. Just paying day tickets, this was, like anyone else. And then the following spring, so all over the winter I was thinking about it. I couldn't get it out of my head. It's 2020 now. And I thought, do you know what? I rang him over the winter. I rang Trev the bailiff. I rang Tony the owner. I got to know him a little bit. I was like, I'm going to come. I want to really go on this. What's the deal with like membership and whatnot? I didn't have a syndicate ticket now. What's the deal with membership? And he was like, well, you can have one. I don't know if there was a list or whatnot. Who knows? I don't think there was. I just think you just got to ask at the right time. And if he knows you and you sort of likes you and respects you, yeah, he let me have a ticket. So I started paying for a ticket, and still am. 2020, I was like, right, I'm going to have a good go at this now. Bang, lockdown happened. I'd done one session in March, middle of March. It was cold, it was crap. I was never going to catch one. Gaz Dennis caught Cy Harris Mirror, saw that on the bank, thought he's £8 or something.
Wow.
Game on. Blanked for 3 nights. Birchie was there, he blanked. The day we left, I remember looking on my phone going, shit, we're going to go into a lockdown here. This virus is quite big. Anyway, we got locked down till May, obviously, middle of May. And the whole time I spent thinking about it. Eventually, middle of May come around, and I was like, right, this is it now. Thankfully, he let the members, as a little reward, you'll remember, you've been paying your monthly money still.
Sure.
It's only fair that I let you on 2 days early before the day ticket angler. So we did. Very nice of him. I couldn't make it down until the following day. So it opened on the Wednesday night for members. Birchie, everyone was there. It was a lake full of big boys. Like, all the good boys there. I was also in a WhatsApp group with them now.
You've made it to the click, mate.
I've made it because do you know what happened? It was actually because
you gave them a load of free Nash gear.
No, far from it. They Birchie put on Facebook he does a home fen trip every year to go and fish home fen, group of mates, treat it as like a French holiday. I know it's not for everyone, but whatever. I won't get into all that. I've always wanted to go on there. It's a bit like, I'm not going to go around claiming a PB or whatever anyway, but I would like to go there.
Yeah.
For a week's holiday. I'd love to go and catching some monsters. Holiday feel, like treat it as if you're going to France. Birchie put on his Facebook, I've got 2-3 spaces. I messaged him, I was like, who's like going? Is it all the Kingy boys and all that? And he was like, yeah, it's Gaz and Steve and Jay and all that. And I was like, I'll come, I'll fill a space. He was like, right, you're in. And I'll add you to the WhatsApp group now so you can keep up to date with payments and all that. And I was like, I'm in here.
Yeah.
That was Tom, that was a very good decision you've made there. It's one of life's good decisions.
Best moment in your life.
And all of a sudden I was like speaking to these lads and getting to know them all and learning about the lake. So May 2020 come along and I was like, game on. So they were all there. They had all got their swims, the main swims. Kev Hewitt was here, Birchie, Gaz, Jay, Steve, John. They were all there. And a lot of other members I didn't know. But there was still several swims free. So I got there the evening before the public day ticket anglers were going to be allowed in. Got a swim, fished next to John on the lock bank. He was in the DVD swim. I was just to the left of him. Saw a few fish jump when I turned up. John was like, fucking hell, they've been in here, in close as well. I was like, that'll do me. All the main swims are taken. I'll quite happily sit on this lock bank and fish short. Just stay out of the way of everyone. The fish were clearly there. Anyway, put a few zigs out. Bait and poled one in the edge. Blanked for the first 2 nights. John was having a few, so I was helping him. Having a few down to the famous willow, famous tree in the DVD swim. He had just netted one at about midnight. It's a funny story, actually. He tried to wake me up. Apparently, he was in my face, screaming at me. And he couldn't wake me up. And it's not like me. I struggle to sleep at the best of times, mate. So, like, for this to not wake me up. And I've only come out. It's because I ain't night fished for probably since...
you were absolutely... Yeah.
That's my excuse, anyway.
Of course.
And I woke up to him... He had it in the net by now, and he was dealing with it on the net. I heard the scales rattle, like on the, you know what I mean, the scales rattle where you're weighing it. I was like, oh fucking hell, I'm so sorry, John. He was like, it's all right, it's cool. Helped him, photographed it. Anyway, I got back into bed. My rod's just gone wee, zig rod, bang, hooked into it, and you only allow 35 yards in those, 40 yards, I think, 8 wraps, 9 wraps, whatever that is. So you ain't got a lot of water, but the fish were clearly there. 10-foot zig, bang, hooked one, netted it. John netted it for me. 46-pounder, heart-tail common.
What a fish that is.
On a 10-foot zig, about 14 foot of water. Zig's first fish not first fish, but first fish there on a zig screw. Buzzing. I was like, oh my God, I've caught one of the 18. And then I got that buzz again, the same buzz I had when I caught the big one. I was like, this is incredible. Whenever all the lads were going, woo, because it was on the WhatsApp, so you could hear across the lake, woo. Kev Hewitt was also up. He just netted a 30-pounder.
Of course he had.
Probably his 10th for the night or something. Anyway, caught heart-tail common. Left it in the net for not long. It was going to be light soon. Done the photos early doors. Yeah, heart-tail common. Blanked the rest of the session. And that was me. I was hooked. And I spent the rest of 2020, or up until spawn in the summer, every spare opportunity I was there. And it's not close. It's a 2-hour drive. And at first I was like, well, if I can warrant doing 3 nights, it's worth it. 2 nights, I'll go up there, no problem. And you imagine how busy it was. Same as everywhere in the country. It was 1 in, 1 out. They were turning people away. But you had to got to be in it to win it. So I was camping there some nights. I was taking a Friday off work so I could get there on the Thursday night to not fish the Thursday night because there was no swims fee. I'd put a rod out on the river sometimes. Like,
really?
Once the season opened again, there's carp in the river, there's chub, barbel. I was fishing, I put 1 rod out, have us barbecue. So there was always someone there I knew, like. And eventually got a swim. So I was technically up there doing 3 nights for 2 nights angling. Not easy, man, to catch a carp.
Definitely not easy.
Weekends only as well, by the odd special occasion when I booked a day off work. And I blanked a few sessions, waiting for one of these main swims to come free, putting my rods out in the middle on the spots. I was like, there's something not right here. And all the others were saying it as well, like they're not having it. Something's not right. Maybe because they haven't been fished for a few months because of lockdown. The middle spots weren't doing as many fish as they should do. They were showing there. They were still spending time there. But they weren't doing bites. And I was like, right, what can I do to gain an edge here? I'm not very good at fishing 3 on a spot. It's not my forte, like to fish 3 rods on a spot and spot over the top. I'll do it if I have to, but what's my edge over these other anglers? And then I remember looking around, I was like, these anglers, you just watch them do it. An angler comes into the swim, smashes a lead about, finds a spot eventually, 3 rods on it, baits, blanks for 3 nights. He's left, next matey comes in, same thing, probably a different spot, maybe the same spot sometimes, bait. I was just like, there's a lot of bait out in that middle that's not getting eaten. No one's catching the fish, so what's going on? Like, I was like, they must be in the edges more. They must be in the edges. And that lock bank is a wicked bank. People ignore the snags, but them fish get here, like, right in front of you. And there's some great fishing. They spend their days there, basically, and then back out into the middle of the night or whatnot. So I was like, it was this time I just got my baiting pole as well. I was like, this could be my edge here. There's certain swims in that lake where the only way you can fish to the end of this snag by a little underarm flick, or you could wade out in your waders a little bit and get one down that margin. But there's spots you could fish with a baiting pole safely still, but that no one else could fish. This could be my little edge here. I'm willing to do that. I'll fish the shit swims that people are avoiding. Because, as I said earlier, every swim gets a chance still. Even these crappy corner swims, you still get a chance. The fish still come past you at some point during that day, depending on what time of day it is, where the sun is. So that was it. I've spent a few sessions with my baiting pole, one rod at times. I was just sneaking into these little corners, one rod against these snags, making the effort to wade out that extra bit further where people couldn't cast because of the overhangs, but you could get with a baiting pole. That was my edge, and I caught a few doing that. A few good fish, a couple of big ones, like up to sort of £39.
Yeah, nice.
So I was on a bit of a roll now. It was happening. Then they spawned eventually. It spawned so late in there. So I was off for a little bit. I was like, I'm not going to fish it now till the autumn, but a big autumn feeder that never happens these days. Like, but I couldn't. I stayed away for about 3 weeks. Went to Labyrinth in France for a week with my mate Reedy. Come back and I was like, right, it's only July still, August. It's fucking hot. And they're probably... I've been keeping up on the WhatsApp. Not a lot's happening. But I've got to get back there. I couldn't help myself. I was back. So it's now like July, August. And I thought, right, new plan. Keep going with the edges. I think I caught a couple of small ones doing that in like the Willows corner and the Carp... No, Winter Gravels corner.
Okay, yeah.
The two most... I concentrate my efforts on the two most least fish swims. Problem is, there was a few other people on that as well. Not a lot. Everyone sees what you're doing. Saw me starting to catch a few. Why wouldn't they start fishing them swims or whatever?
Yeah.
Of course they were. But I still was the only one with these bushwhacker baiting poles, rocky or shit. Still are, just about kind of... I was the only one with one. People were coming round and asking to borrow it. Seeing me with it, seeing me catch one and go, so one of them baiting poles, mate? Yeah. Don't suppose I could just borrow it down there? Crack on, mate. So my marketing head was telling me,
yeah,
let them borrow your baiting pole.
Your fishing head's saying
then
no.
Then they're going to go buy one. Brilliant for the business. My fishing head's going, what have you done that for? Anyway, I dread to think what's going to happen this year with the amount of 1,000 baiting poles we're going to...
They'll be shipping them out in the middle, mate. 70 yards.
But you got to remember, you are allowed bait boats.
Yeah, you are.
I've never used one. I won't use one on there. I'm not being all snobby and going, oh, it's not cheating. But I'll use one. I'm going to Home Fen. Hopefully this trip has been cancelled because of COVID. I'll take a bait boat to Home Fen, no problem. I'm on a holiday. But for that type of fishing, I just feel you should be angling for them. You know, it's a date. I just wouldn't use one.
Yeah, it's where everyone personally draws a line, isn't it?
I've nothing against them whatsoever. Nothing. Like, I just want to catch them on my own accord.
Yeah.
You'll see me now in June. I'll be blanking all this year. And I'll be like, oh, God, can I buy your bait boat? Yeah, so that you're always competing with bait boats. Yeah. Accurate. And even if, mate, he's shit at angling, a bait boat can still drop a very good, tight amount of bait on a spot if you get it right. Which is an edge in Kingy, definitely, because the spots are so few and far between out in the middle. If you find... Mate, they've all got cameras now.
Yeah, winch cams to take them down and have a look.
Yeah. But one thing I did do, so I caught a few more. I caught another 40-pounder in August, lockjaw.
Sigs or on the bottom?
No, on the bottom. Edge? No. Out in the pond.
Out in the pond.
So I'd caught a few out in the pond, but not many. It's a good story, actually. I booked 2 days off work. The weather was bang on. It was warm. It was August. But the weather was... There was a warm, windy, wet front coming in. I was like, that'll do. It had been so hot and crap and not a lot was happening. I'd had a couple off the top, actually. I'd been floater fishing there a little bit and managed a couple up to like £29 or something. But I knew it was getting onto the autumn now. And I was like, it's middle time. The spots that were doing bites in the edge, not really anymore. They were done a little bit. They'd been hammered. The fish were spending a lot of time out in that middle. And I knew I had to up my game a little bit there. Anyway, I turned up on a Wednesday night. The lake was busy, obviously. Dropped into the Willows corner swim for a night because it was the only swim on the whole lake free. Before that, bucketed the swim. Went round to see Steve and Manchester Mick, who were on the riverbank, weren't catching, but they were in two of the main swims. Went around, had a little said hello to them. I'm just going to drop in the Willows tonight. Happy days. It does on the right time. It does fish, but ideally I'd like it to be baking hot and the wind blowing in there to get one right. And yeah, you're only allowed 7 wraps or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like
short,
very close. Or no, not even 7 wraps. Sorry, it's a 20-yarder, so 4 wraps, whatever it is. And I fished that for the night, flicked a couple out, but I'd already been down to the rat swim, which is one of the point swims further down to my right. Mate, he was leaving the next day. Rats is a good swim.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, mate, I might drop in here tomorrow if that's all right. No worries, mate. Like, keeping an eye on it. I was only down the bank a bit. So that was my plan. Fish the willows tonight, reeling early, which I did. So I knew it wasn't going to happen in the willows. They weren't there. You know if they're there. Reeled in it really early and I was just doing laps early doors before most of the like data cat anglers had even woken up, just to see them, see if they were on having a showing morning. They weren't, unfortunately. So rats was still my plan. Anyway, I got back around to Steve and Mick. Mick was going that day in the piz swim, which is a banging swim into the fish's the main body. Again, one of the long sharks. He was going, but I was like, nah, I prefer rats, to be honest with you. And I remember we were just there having a cup of tea and he caught one. He had a bite. He had been there like 4 days with no success. And then the morning he was leaving, he had one 37-pounder scaly.
Nice.
37 something. Mick is one of them. He sounds so funny. He'll do everything he possibly can to stay longer, but he couldn't.
Right.
He had to go, and the wind, the storm, the weather that was due had turned up now, and the wind was trickling into this sort of car park corner. It was a little bit of drizzle. I was like, yeah. Past the piss swim into car park corner, and I was like, "You definitely going, Mick?" And he was like, "Yeah, you should come in here." No one had bucketed it or anything like that. I was round there already, so I was having a brew. I was reeled in. I was like, "But rats is a good swim," but they were clearly the fish were
on that wind.
He just caught one. It was like the only bite that had happened on the whole lake in 48 hours. Caught. I'll be silly to turn it down. I knew the spots in there. Turned up. Mick had gone anyway. I'd finally got in the swim in the sort of early afternoon, and by now the wind was overcast. It was a good bit of weather, and they just, as they do, they show in the mornings, but occasionally they'll just randomly put on a show in the afternoon, middle of the day when it's dead, and I mean a proper show, and they'd done that, and they were like, Bertie always used to say it, whenever they show, they're on the move. So they were cut, and I could literally see them coming from where the rats end, Lock Bank, where I was going to fish.
Yeah.
They were now here, coming towards this end of the lake. I was like, right, Mick, I'm coming in here. Knew the spot, but what I didn't do, which was a good bit of angling looking back, some would say it's a bit fluky. We had a bit of banter over it afterwards with Mick and that, like, oh, you've jumped in after being caught one straight away. Which it definitely happened.
Yeah.
But that's what happens all the time. You're always following someone in. Do you know what I mean? So you're never doing... Yeah. The fish were clearly in the area, and I see a good common bosh out on the spot a few times. I was like... But then I'm in a situation, the wind's up now, so if I was to spot on the spot, like, get the old dot spot out and, like, try and put some bait on this spot, in that wind, at that time of day, when the fish are clearly there, nah, mate.
It's not the one.
I'm not good enough to do that. And Mick had a bite already. Yeah. So Mick, I knew he'd been there 4 days. He'd gone by now. I didn't ask him anything, but I knew that he would be fishing. He would fish over bait. He's one of them. He'll bait and he'll fish it. And he's caught one. But they'll probably still bait. Chances are there's bait still out there. Some description, bit of hemp, whatever, on the spot. So I just put 3 singles out there and sat back and just waited and watched this show. And eventually the show stopped and the wind calmed down. It got to about 7 in the evening. I was like, right, what am I going to do for the night? Again, I knew they must still be in the area. I weren't going to go and start spotting a granny out of it, which so many would do, turning up and swim. Fished 3 singles, 7 o'clock in the evening, got a bite after seeing this common again, which looking back now is definitely the lockjaw common that I caught.
Yeah.
Caught one 42-pounder. Hadn't been out all year, I don't think.
That is good angling, mate, that is.
It was, like, I could have just gone bang, 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 fill it in. We sat there, probably wouldn't have caught. They were there, ready to be caught, and they were probably on mixed bait. Of course they were, but like you say, you follow someone in, the chances are you're always fishing on someone's bait. So
especially on there. At that time, first lockdown, when everybody's fishing, You will be.
There was
What do you have it on, mate? Squid?
Yeah, just single yellow squids.
Cool.
Souped up squids. Like that. I've just been... I love a single look bait, me.
The northerner in you, mate.
What? Back in 2009, the first morning I ever went on there when we filmed, Birchie was like, don't be scared to put a single out here. They love a bit of yellow. Corn, plastic corn, like...
Yeah.
Don't be scared to fish singles, but... And I've done it other places since, fishing singles, and people always presume that to be just chucking singles anywhere at showers, but I'm talking... You don't get me wrong, I'll always have a choddy about, like, should I see showers, because there's so many showers, but it's never really caught me any fish. Catching them on the singles there, I'm still fishing. I'm fishing a single hook bait, but I'm fishing on the spots where the food is. Where they know when they want to come and eat these big carp, these spots get hammered. Each spot, same with every lake, like each swim has the spots. And they get hammered. Of course they do. But there's a reason for it, and that's because when these big uns want to eat, that's where they come.
That's their dinner table.
That's their dinner table. And there's so much weed and whatnot in there, they have to come there. But the problem, I think, why not as many fish get caught is what I said earlier, that people turn up and they bait on top of bait. And before they've even cast a rod out, they fuck their session.
Yeah. It is classic, isn't it? It's
classic. Linear must be another prime example. Yeah. Anywhere like that. Because I just don't... People just are in a mindset that they have to bait and then put their rods out and then wait. Whereas my mindset was, this could be my edge here. I'll just watch people. And this was my edge, I think. This was going to be my edge, and it worked. I was going to... Whereas most people's first thing would be to bait, my last option, that would be my last resort. When I can't catch them on a zig, or I can't catch them on a single hook bait, then I would introduce a bit of bait. And I've not used a lot of bait on it all year.
You've done well, mate.
And they all take the piss out of me, Kev and Birchie, that going, oh, you just come in with your single hook baits and fish on top of other people's bait. And I'm like, yeah. Why wouldn't I? I'm not doing it to be lazy.
I want to buy it. I want to catch them.
I want to catch one as quick as possible. And not before my chance is up. So, and I'll never forget that. Yeah, that's what Birchie told me. They love us. Don't be scared to fish a single on the spots.
So what you're effectively saying is every fish you've caught out of Kingy, which is a fair few and some good uns, is thanks to Birchie. Well done, Birchie.
Yeah. And now he's gone on to Swan. And I'm all on my...
Follow him over there next year, boy.
But yeah, so that was a good edge. My other big edge on there, I think, was I observed. I mentioned it a bit earlier about observing what everyone else is doing. When everyone else was having a social and chilling and in their bivvies, I was as well. Don't get me wrong. I'd have a barbecue and a beer with whoever's on the bank, but I'd listen as well, because all these people that are on this lake know more about it than me. 80% of them do. The other guys don't, because they might be newcomers. So I just listen to little bits of information. Birchie saying that, fish a single. Oh, listening to when Mick had put bait on this spot, and when a fish had been caught out of that corner, and just little things like that. I'd listen. I'm not scared to jump on the bandwagon. If casters are working, I'd jump on the caster. If zigs are working, I'd jump on the zigs. But not a lot of people, even on Kingy, the busiest lake in the country that sees a whole different range of anglers, we put out all these videos about zig fishing and da-da-da. No one fishes zigs.
True.
No one fishes zigs still, mate.
True.
All you see on YouTube now is zig fishing is a massive, massive edge. No one does it still. Do you know what I mean?
No.
And so I've caught a few on the zigs, but apparently a few years back they had a really good year on the zigs.
I caught on zigs on there, mate. Yeah.
But I've managed a few, but it's not been easy.
And you've had them with the pole and the edge, which
I had them with the pole and the edge. I've basically given away all my edges now, and everyone's gonna be doing a thing. But it's too late. I've done that. Now I've got things saying now. I've got a few tricks on my sleeve for this year.
Good. Keep them. Don't let that out. We want to see the.
I'm gonna have another go. But it could be a different year this year. They might be all out in the middle,
but that's the beauty of it, isn't it, mate? I look forward to seeing what you'll produce, mate. I'm sure you'll have a few.
So what are we now? We're in March, just beginning of March. So fingers crossed it all opens for night fishing 29th, is it? Or April 12th maybe or whatever. That's when he's opening anyway. Soon as he'll open as soon as night fishing's allowed.
He can.
He's not letting members on early this time though, unfortunately. He's just like, I've just got to go with it. So I'm going to be in that queue with everyone else, I think. I keep saying to myself, I'll leave it a couple of weeks.
You won't,
calm down, but I won't because I'm
itching.
It's gonna be game on.
I can hear it in your voice, mate, when you talk about it. I know what it's like. It's a mega place. The fish are mega. And to be fair, you've had some success, mate, so you just want to carry on. But obviously lockdowns, negated that.
And that's just kingy.
Yeah, so many quality waters. There's so many waters are overlooked. You drive by 2 mega lakes while you get to Kingy, don't you?
That San Martin's got a £50 common in it.
I know.
A very catchable one as well. So I'll most definitely be having a go on there. I might have a go on there on the floaters in the summer when King gets a bit dead. Swan's got another 350s in it, 450s.
It's a mega complex.
Yeah. So until that's going
to be continued.
Yeah, man.
Tommy.
I can't wait.
Tommy, thank you so much, mate. I've really enjoyed that chat. It's been funny and informative. I love the Kingy chapter at the end.
Yeah.
And we will revisit your story because I'm sure there's going to be more Kingy chapters, mate.
Yeah, man.
A massive thank you to all of you for watching and listening. We'll see you again soon with another Nash Off the Hook podcast. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Sound.